Chapter 3398. For many inscription masters, if they want to break the barrier, they have to very carefully open a gap without anyone noticing. However, this gap is only open for a short period of time. After entering, they would immediately close it to avoid being detected. Dealing with more than 10 layers of barrier is not a problem. The process is to open layer by layer. It is rather troublesome and time-consuming. And for many people, it is not difficult to break the barrier with brute force. The only drawback is that they would be discovered immediately, and sometimes they would be shaken by the barrier. Qin Yun's method is very special. He condensed enough powerful runes inside his body. His runes are not ordinary runes. They are heavenly rune characters. This kind of heavenly rune characters are very powerful. Not to mention ordinary runes. Even powerful heavenly runes are very weak in front of heavenly rune characters. Within the heavens divine desolate, there are not many inscription masters who have mastered heavenly rune characters. Even if there are some who have mastered it, they have only mastered very few heavenly rune characters. And Qin Yun has mastered many heavenly rune characters. Moreover, it is very simple and easy for him to use them. This is mainly because he has fused a large number of inscription spirits. Even now, it is not easy to fuse many inscription spirits at the same time. Some rare inscription spirits are very difficult to find. Even if they are found, they might not be recognized. Not only Qin Yun has runes, he can also duplicate them. It is just that he rarely does it now. He condensed a large number of concealment heavenly rune characters inside his body. Concealment heavenly rune characters can not only make people invisible, they can also hide inside runes. Several hundred layers of barrier have a large amount of rune power. As long as one is not detected by the rune power, one can ignore these runes and easily pass through these several hundred layers of barrier. 9 Heavens Lost Spirit and Sword Elder are fighting outside. The fight is very intense. Many people believe that 9 Heavens Lost Spirit is no longer Barbarian Emperor's match. He can't even defeat Sword Elder. This is a great loss to his dignity. One must know that he used to be Barbarian Emperor's boss, but now rumor has it that he can't even defeat Barbarian Emperor's little brother. Even if 9 Heavens Lost Spirit and Sword Elder are evenly matched, it would still be a very shameful matter. The Barbarian Emperor was once the little brother of the 9 Heavens Lost Spirit, and the Sword Elder, who followed the Barbarian Emperor, was able to fight evenly with the 9 Heavens Lost Spirit. How could a 9 Heavens Lost Spirit put his face? Qin Yun was also paying attention to the battle outside. Although he did not go out to watch the battle, he could sense the collision of the two auras. He could roughly guess the process of the battle between the two. The two of them are indeed very strong, but against my sneak attack, they shouldn't be able to last more than 3 moves. From Qin Yun's point of view, they were only slightly stronger than Ling Wan. If the Transcendent Realm Qin Yun were to go all out, his strength should be stronger than Yu Xinjing. Not only did Qin Yun possess the strength of a Transcendent Realm, but his 9-son Divine Spirit also had 8 powerful Divine Sons. If he used the power of 8 powerful Divine Sons, even a few old Divine Son descendants at the Universe Mind Realm might not be his match. Moments later, Qin Yun had already sneaked past the Divine Court Manor's barrier. At night, the divine moon of the heavens illuminated the earth very brightly, and the sky flickered with flashes of light from time to time. 9 Heavens Lost Spirit and Sword Elder were fighting intensely, and it seemed like they were evenly matched. However, Qin Yun knew that neither of them had used their true strength. It was impossible for Sword Elder to use his full strength when fighting in someone else's territory. This was to prevent a sudden sneak attack. 9 Heavens Lost Spirit would also not use his full strength. He was holding back because he was worried that someone would come to save Xiao Wufeng. At that time, he would not have enough strength to resist. After Qin Yun entered the Divine Court Manor, he secretly released his universe power to investigate. The area he released his universe power to cover was not very large. This way, it would not be too strong and prevent others from discovering it. After passing through hundreds of barriers, he could sense the aura of the Divine Court Manor even more clearly. There's no universe mind realm aura. Could it be that those old divine sun descendants disdain this kind of occasion? It's not easy to get them to make a move. Qin Yun did not sense the universe mind realm, but he could sense 5 peak universe transformation realm experts. Moreover, their universe power was very violent. It's the divine sun descendants. A total of 5 came? If I wasn't here, they would be enough to deal with the 9 Yang Divine Palace, but they might not be able to deal with the barbarian emperor. Qin Yun contacted Su Wancho, who he had placed in a storage divine tool, and told him about his discovery. Su Wancho was in a storage divine tool. The environment was very good, and the space was very spacious and bright. He was not dissatisfied and only felt very safe. To be able to send out 5 peak universe transformation realm experts, it is enough to show that the evil insects attach great importance to this matter. 9 Heavens Law Spirit said that there is a universe mind realm. This is impossible. The evil insects' universe mind realm are all old fellows. They would not care about this kind of trivial matter. Those old fellows are very arrogant. Su Wancho said with certainty. It's a bit of a pity. Qin Yun really wanted to meet the universe mind realm elders of the divine sun descendants. Brother Yin, what's a pity? If you meet these old fellows, even if you can beat them, you might not be able to kill them. Instead, you will expose yourself. Su Wancho was anxious. He was truly worried that Qin Yun would not be able to keep a low profile. All these years, Su Wancho had been inquiring about Qin Yun's past deeds. According to his understanding of Qin Yun, this person was very arrogant and flamboyant. Don't worry, I can sneak into the divine court mansion. Even if there is a universe mind realm, I can sneak attack and kill him. Qin Yun was very confident. He originally thought that he would be very weak after returning from the heart of the universe. However, after stepping into the transcendent realm, he was still one of the experts in this land. The divine court mansion was like a huge villa. According to the information, Qin Yun first came to the southern dungeon. He opened his heavenly eye and saw that there were several black stone houses in front of him. They were located on a plaza, and this plaza was enveloped by layers of barriers. Those black stone houses were completely sealed without a single door. If he wanted to enter, he could only close the barrier outside and then close the inscription barrier carved on the stone slabs of the houses. Only this way could he enter the underground dungeon through the entrance. The defense of the dungeon was still very strong, and there were all kinds of barriers. It was almost impossible to escape from the dungeon. If Qin Yun wanted to know if Xia Wufeng was in the southern dungeon, he had to go in and take a look. Previously, he also thought that Xia Wufeng's information in the southern dungeon was deliberately leaked to ambush him, and that Xia Wufeng might not be there. However, after getting closer, he realized that there were 2 peak space transformation realm auras. It seems like Boss Xia is in this dungeon. Qin Yun told Su Wancho about his discovery. 2 peak space transformation realm guards sword god in the dungeon. It is indeed a big village. It's indeed a big village. The other 3 are guarding the divine court mansion to prevent anyone from attacking. Su Wancho also believed that Xia Wufeng was in the southern dungeon and that the information was not false. It was very complicated to enter and exit the southern dungeon. It would take at least 2 hours to open and close the barrier. Therefore, among the 5 divine sun descendants, only 2 were in the dungeon while the other 3 were outside. Chapter 3399. Let's not talk anymore. I'm going to save you. All right, what kind of people are imprisoned here? Qin Yun asked. According to the information, many of them are our people. Yes, most of them are our people. Xia Wufeng sighed. They have all been tortured many times. Qin Yun saved Xia Wufeng and placed him with Su Wancho, letting Su Wancho heal Xia Wufeng. Su Wancho's blood is very powerful. It has super strong recovery power. This is also one of the reasons why he is hard to destroy, so it is best to let him save Xia Wufeng. Seeing Xia Wufeng, Su Wancho is very excited. To Su Wancho, sword god Xia Wufeng is an expert that he worships very much, and the reason why Xia Wufeng was captured this time is also because he saved him. Soon after, Qin Yun began to understand the situation of this underground prison. He secretly killed all the guards of this underground prison, but did not kill them. Instead, he sealed them in place and erased their consciousness. This way, their auras will still be released, and the two-peak universe transformation realm experts will not be able to sense it. Qin Yun did not make a sound the entire time. Now, only the two-peak universe transformation realm experts are left in the South Prison. They each have a secret room and are cultivating inside. Peak universe transformation realm experts are very focused on cultivation because stepping into the universe heart realm is very important to them. Divine Sun descendants are very arrogant, especially these peak universe transformation realm experts. They are even more arrogant. They are definitely very dissatisfied with being arranged to guard this kind of place, so they do not care about the matters here and are also not vigilant. In their opinion, as long as there's a big commotion, they will just attack. Qin Yun quietly arrived at a secret room, right behind that middle-aged man. This peak universe transformation realm expert is not vigilant. Instead, he is very focused on cultivating, absorbing energy from a divine sun blood seed. Divine Sun descendants can easily absorb energy from Divine Sun blood seed. This is also the reason why they are so powerful. Qin Yun very sinisterly stabbed the middle-aged man's universe transformation heart origin. At the same time, he pressed his palm on the middle-aged man's head, heavily injuring his soul. Earlier on the way here, he secretly made a lot of soulless dew. Now it is enough. After the middle-aged man's soul was heavily injured, Qin Yun dripped a large amount of soulless dew, instantly losing consciousness. Qin Yun refined it in his mind crystal moon. Chapter 3400. Most of the people who were caught in this dungeon were the descendants of the Divine Sun and enemies of the myriad realms' divine court. In the divine desolate land, only the 9 Yang divine palace and the barbarian race dared to fight against the descendants of the Divine Sun. There were too many barbarians, and it was very difficult to catch them all. They were spread all over the divine desolate land. The most terrifying thing about the current barbarian race was that they were very bloodthirsty. No matter how they were tortured, they would not betray their own race. According to the information Qin Yun obtained from Luo Shuang and Su Wanchou, he gradually admired this barbarian emperor. In the past few hundred years, the barbarian emperor had carried out a great transformation of the entire barbarian race. It could be said that he had been reborn, greatly improving the entire race in all aspects. One must know that back then, the barbarian race was a nightmare existence in many universes. Of course, the existence of the barbarian race was also created by the universe lost spirit in order to balance the various universes. At the same time, the universe lost spirit also conducted various experiments on the barbarian race. Now that the universe lost spirit was gone and the barbarian race had left their original universe, the barbarian emperor was the true leader of the entire race. No one could shake his position in the race. Therefore, the barbarian emperor could carry out a great transformation of the entire race according to his own ideas. Su Wanchou said that the barbarian emperor wanted to transform the barbarian race into a race that could fight against the descendants of the Divine Sun. Moreover, they wanted to become the most powerful and admirable race in this world. Xia Wufeng opened the prison doors one by one. Qin Yun saw that the current barbarian race looked no different from humans. It was said that they would not enter a berserk state, but could enter a more stable and stronger state. The barbarian race that came out of the prison door had many injuries on their bodies. Most of their bodies were incomplete. It could be seen that they had been tortured by terrifying torture. Of course, the barbarian race was a powerful race that had once run amok in the universe. Their body's recovery ability was still very strong. This kind of injury was something that they could quickly recover from. The people of the 9 Yang Divine Palace came from many races, and there were a total of 300 in prison here. As for the barbarian race, there were more than 3,000. The people of the Divine Palace were also tortured miserably, but they did not betray the 9 Yang Divine Palace. Those who were selected to enter the 9 Yang Divine Palace had undergone a series of training, and they were very loyal. Furthermore, they had voluntarily signed the soul contract, so it was very difficult for them to leak the secret. The people who were captured here were all spies scattered outside the Nine Suns sacred ground or businessmen. They all had some status in the various cities outside the Nine Suns sacred ground. Therefore, they all knew very well what the southern dungeon of the Divine Court represented. Once imprisoned here, there was no way to escape and no way to break into the prison. When they found out that Xiao Wufeng had been captured, they were all extremely sad. This was because Xiao Wufeng was very famous in the Divine Desolate, yet he was still captured by a descendant of the Divine Sun. This made them secretly despair. In the current Divine Wilderness, whether it was the Nine-Yang Divine Palace or the barbarian race, they all had one thing in common: the descendants of the Divine Sun. It was not that they had taken the initiative to provoke the descendant of the Divine Sun clan, but that the descendant of the Divine Sun clan was suppressing them and squeezing out their living space. The descendants of the Divine Sun God had to eat flesh and blood to give birth to the next generation with a strong body. Currently, they were only eating the Cosmos Gods. But what if they finished eating the Cosmos Gods? Then they would eat the other races, especially the barbarians, whose strength was increasing day by day. They would definitely be the first to suffer. After those people were released by Xiao Wufeng, the despair in their hearts was swept away, replaced by shock and confusion. Why was Xiao Wufeng able to escape? He even swaggered and unhurriedly opened their cages. It was as if this dungeon was his home. At this time, everyone suddenly felt that Xiao Wufeng had been captured on purpose to save them. The people in the dungeon all knew that there were two peak space transformation realm descendants of the Divine Sun clan guarding this place. This was also one of the reasons why they felt despair. But now, it seems that those two peak space transformation realm experts should have been killed. Otherwise, Xiao Wufeng would not have let them out just like that. Qin Yun followed beside Xiao Wufeng. He did not make a sound. Everyone only treated him as one of the prisoners here. Boss Xia, don't say anything. Just let them guess blindly. Qin Yun secretly transmitted to Xiao Wufeng. Previously, Qin Yun gave Xiao Wufeng a storage divine tool that can store people and told him to store all the people here in the storage divine tool. This way, it would be equivalent to Xiao Wufeng bringing them out. Boss Xia, can you beat those peak space transformation realm descendants of the Divine Sun clan? Qin Yun asked. I can. The reason why I was captured is because an old fellow from the Universe Heart Realm secretly made a move. When Xiao Wufeng thought of this matter, anger surged in his heart, but he looked very calm on the surface. He naturally knew that this was all because a traitor had leaked the information. That was why the descendants of the Divine Sun clan had sent out Universe Heart Realm experts to ambush him. Qin Yun had heard before that Xiao Wufeng had fought with many peak space transformation realm descendants of the Divine Sun clan. His strength was definitely not weak. Even if he couldn't beat them, he couldn't run away. He now understood that there was an ambush from the Universe Heart Realm, and no one knew about this matter. How are you recovering from your injuries? There are still 3 peak space transformation realm fellows outside. Before Qin Yun could finish speaking, Xiao Wufeng said, Leave them all to me. All right. Qin Yun did not say much. If Xiao Wufeng could really make a move, that would naturally be for the best. This way, everyone would know that the sword god of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace had escaped. In this way, no one would suspect that someone had saved Xiao Wufeng. If there was anyone who could save Xiao Wufeng, it would be Qin Yun's return. Xiao Wufeng also knew that Qin Yun wanted to hide this matter. Before clearly investigating how strong the Universe Heart Realm of the descendants of the Divine Sun clan was, it would be best not to expose it. Otherwise, these old fellows would not be able to sit still and would have come out to start a massacre in the Divine Desolate, to force Qin Yun out, or to carry out a destructive attack on the various clans. Sword Elder and 9 Heaven Law Spirit were still fighting fiercely outside. They were evenly matched, or perhaps Sword Elder was deliberately stalling for time. After Qin Yun brought Xiao Wufeng out of the southern prison, he heard a loud sound coming from outside the Divine Court Mansion. Someone was violently attacking the barrier of the Divine Court Mansion. It's not the Barbarian Emperor attacking the Divine Court Mansion. It should be the barbarian king of the barbarian race. There are at least 5 peak space transformation realm experts. Xiao Wufeng said in a low voice. How did the barbarian race improve so quickly? There were more and more peak space transformation realm experts in the barbarian race, and the Nine-Yang Divine Palace had already been left behind. Now, the Nine-Yang Divine Palace was no longer a worry for the descendants of the Divine Sun clan, but the barbarian race, especially the barbarian emperor who had stepped into the universe heart realm. Although the Divine Court Mansion was attacked, the 3 peak space transformation realm experts of the Southern Prison did not take any action because it was not their business. They were mainly responsible for guarding the Southern Prison. Guarding the Divine Court Mansion was the job of the 9 Heaven Lost Spirit. Chapter 3401. The Barbarian Sovereign didn't come. After all, he was the barbarian race's only Yuxian Jing, so he wouldn't take the risk easily. Although saving Xiao Wufeng was important to the barbarians, they also had to consider the risks involved. For example, could this be a trap set up by the descendants of the Divine Sun God? They wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and kill most of the people from the Divine Palace of Nanyang, while also causing a certain amount of damage to the barbarians? Boss Xia, hurry up and attack. We need to fight our way out as soon as possible. Don't let the barbarians sacrifice too much. Qin Yun immediately sent a voice transmission to Xiao Wufeng. They had purposely released their energy aura on the way up from the southern dungeon for the sake of letting the 3 space transformation realm experts above the dungeon discover them. Above the southern prison, there were still 3 peak space transformation realm descendants of the Divine Sun God. They had long noticed that someone was attacking the Divine Court Manor, but they were not lured out. This was clearly a ploy to lure the tiger away from the mountain. If they ran over, someone might attack the southern dungeon. Although the southern dungeon was very sturdy, nothing was absolute in this world. Besides, their duty was to guard the southern dungeon. Other matters had nothing to do with them. The 3 peak universe transformation state descendants of the Divine Sun God suddenly became vigilant when they sensed a huge commotion outside the Divine Court Mansion. Right at this time, they sensed the powerful sword momentum that Xiao Wufeng released. This aura caused them to be extremely shocked and even a little fearful. One had to know that there were quite a few people who besieged Xiao Wufeng back then, and these 3 peak space transformation realms also participated. Originally, the higher-ups of the Divine Sun Empire's descendants had planned to use space transformation realm people to take down Xiao Wufeng. However, Xiao Wufeng was simply too valiant, so the Mind Realm elders hiding nearby had no choice but to take action. Although these peak space transformation realm descendants of the Divine Sun God knew that they were no match for Xiao Wufeng, they were not too afraid. Because they were immortal. The last time they attacked Xiao Wufeng, their bodies had been cut into pieces by Xiao Wufeng, but they had recovered in the end. Not long after, their strength had recovered to its peak, and they were not affected at all. Therefore, these descendants of the Divine Sun God were not afraid of death when they fought. Not being afraid of death could make them more courageous as they fought, and they could display their strongest power without holding anything back. Although Xiao Wufeng was strong, he was unable to completely kill these descendants of the Divine Sun. When he sensed the 3 familiar auras, he knew that these 3 fellows had been heavily injured by him before. Boss Xia, don't worry and fight. It would be best if he could force out their souls. I have a way to deal with their souls. Qin Yun transmitted his voice to Xiao Wufeng and immediately concealed himself. Xiao Wufeng knew that Qin Yun had a way. He heard that Qin Yun could refine a special liquid that could erase all the consciousness of a Divine Sun descendant. Very soon, those 3 peak space transformation realms came over and surrounded Xiao Wufeng. Above the southern dungeon was a very spacious area. Although there were quite a few black stone houses, after Xiao Wufeng came out, he triggered many defensive barriers. Very quickly, a large group of people surrounded him. Most of these people were from the Divine Court Manor, Nanyang Dharma Spirit's subordinates. Not only was the Divine Court Manor under attack, but Xiao Wufeng had also escaped from the southern dungeon. It was a shocking development. One had to understand that the southern underground prison was extremely sturdy, with large amounts of seals. Even Xiao Wufeng had many seals on him. How did Xiao Wufeng escape? Even the three descendants of the divine sun god found it hard to believe. If they didn't see Xiao Wufeng in front of them, they definitely wouldn't believe it. This time, you won't have the chance to start over. As soon as Xiao Wufeng finished speaking, his origin sword instantly appeared in his hand. At the same time the sword appeared, he already flashed and stabbed at a peak space transformation realm person. This sword strike was extremely terrifying. The terrifying sword aura formed a pressure of heaven and earth that directly enveloped that person, making him unable to move. Although that person was only suppressed by the sword aura for a short moment. In that instant, Xiao Wufeng's origin sword had already stabbed his body several thousand times. Even Qin Yun, who was hiding, felt that it was somewhat terrifying. Xiao Wufeng's sword pierced his opponent's body into pieces, as if it was minced meat. When the people surrounding the southern dungeon's plaza saw this scene, their scalps went numb and they fled in all directions in fear. A peak space transformation realm divine sun descendant turned into minced meat in an instant. Who could block this kind of sword strike? After Xiao Wufeng killed a peak space transformation realm expert, the other two immediately rushed over. They were fearless. They were not afraid of death at all. Moreover, they only wanted to defeat Xiao Wufeng. Last time, they were also killed by Xiao Wufeng in the same way. This matter caused them to be ridiculed by the divine sun descendants to the point that they couldn't even raise their heads. Because Xiao Wufeng was only a human, yet he was able to cause such a huge injury to their bodies. However, just as they arrived, they saw countless sword shadows and sword beams flashing wildly. It ended in an instant again. Those people who were fleeing in all directions turned their heads and saw that the two peak space transformation realm experts were instantly killed by Xiao Wufeng. They felt even more fear in their hearts. What they're puzzled about now is how did the divine sun descendants capture Xiao Wufeng back then? Because the divine sun descendants only said that they had dispatched peak space transformation realm experts. They didn't say anything about the universe heart realm. They began to suspect that Xiao Wufeng had been captured on purpose in order to rescue his companions in the southern dungeon. 3 peak space transformation realm divine sun descendants were killed by Xiao Wufeng just like that. When their souls were flying away, they were secretly captured by Qin Yun. Boom! The southern dungeon suddenly shook, and then the ground split open. Qin Yun had buried a small divine sun core below. Now that it was detonated by him, the entire southern dungeon was blasted into smithereens. The Nine Suns Dharma spirit, who was fighting outside, realized that something was amiss. In his opinion, even if someone attacked outside, they would not be able to break through the divine court mansion's barrier in a short period of time. Even if they did break through, they would not be able to break into the southern dungeon to rescue people. However, he had just received news that Xiao Wufeng had actually escaped from the southern dungeon. Nine Suns Dharma Spirit, your opponent is me. Xiao Wufeng's cold voice carried a majestic sword aura that enveloped the great divine court's heaven city. Even Elder Sword was shocked. He knew very well that their people would not be able to break into the divine court mansion so quickly. They were only creating chaos and creating a chance for the Nine Suns Temple people to rescue people. The barbarians who were attacking the divine court mansion also felt the divine court mansion shake. They flew into the air and saw the southern dungeon collapse. They did not see any trace of Xiao Wufeng because Qin Yun had brought him through the divine court mansion's barrier and was rushing out of the divine court mansion. Just you wait, the Nine Heavens Dharma spirit shouted angrily. Then, the battle outside the city stopped, and he immediately ran away. The Nine Heavens Dharma spirit sensed Xiao Wufeng's sword aura and knew that Xiao Wufeng had recovered from his injuries and the seal on his body had been removed. He had no chance of winning against 2 powerful sword cultivators like Elder Sword and Xiao Wufeng at the same time, so he could only run away. Chapter 34:02. When the Nine Heavens Lost Spirit, who was fighting with the Sword Elder outside the city, saw Xiao Wufeng running out of the dungeon, its first reaction was to run away. It wasn't just the people of the great divine Quartz Heaven City who were shocked. Even Qin Yun and the others found it hard to believe that the Nine Heavens lost spirit would flee so decisively. The Nine Heavens Dharma spirit was in charge of divine Quartz Heaven City. Moreover, he was just outside the great divine Quartz Heaven City. After Xiao Wufeng escaped, he didn't even bother to look back, abandoning the divine Quartz Heaven City. Everyone in the divine court manor was having a mental breakdown. This boss was too cowardly. He didn't even guard his home and left so decisively. This would definitely become the biggest joke in the All Heavens Divine Desolate for hundreds of years. Xiao Wufeng, who was just about to rush out, stood there in a daze. Back then, the Nine Heavens Dharma spirit was very powerful. It even beat Qin Yun up, causing him to flee with serious injuries. But now he was in such a sorry state. It could be seen that after he betrayed you, his strength did not increase. On the contrary, the barbarian sovereign had advanced by leaps and bounds. Not only the barbarian sovereign, but there were also several barbarian kings and the sword elder who had advanced by leaps and bounds. Their strength was no weaker than the Nine Heavens lost spirit. Therefore, many people guessed that the barbarian sovereign had grasped some kind of technique that could allow people to break through faster, and this technique was most likely passed down to the barbarian sovereign by the universe beyond heaven. The cosmos beyond beings were the fusion of a universe lost spirit and the Nine Yang lost spirit. Before they were sent to the ancient desolation, they had imparted many things regarding this to Xian Qingning. Because of this, Xian Qingning had always been imprisoned. The original Taishan star, which was now the Taishan Pavilion, had racked their brains to obtain these memories from Xian Qingning. I really didn't expect the Nine Heavens lost spirit to be so weak. Qin Yun shook his head and sighed. Actually, this is quite normal. The descendants of the Divine Sun will not allow him to become stronger. Xiao Wufeng put away his life-bond sword. The Nine Heavens lost spirit had sought refuge with the descendants of the Divine Sun God. Although he was in charge of the divine court of the myriad realms, he was only in charge of some unimportant matters. If the descendants of the Divine Sun clan needed it, they would send someone to the Divine Court Prefecture. The Nine Heavens lost spirit was like a tool, dispensable. What should we do with this city? Qin Yun hovered in the air and looked at the grand and luxurious Great Divine Quartz Heaven City. The city looked magnificent, but the descendants of the Divine Sun God had forced many people to build it. In order to build this city, hundreds of thousands of people had died. We can't have this city. We probably won't be able to defend it now. Xiao Wufeng shook his head. The descendant of the Divine Sun God will definitely send someone over to deal with this. We might be able to defend it. Qin Yun looked at the nine myriad realms Divine Sun in the sky and said, Boss Xie, the core of the myriad realms Divine Sun is occupied by the Divine Sun descendant, but the Divine Sun descendant is still unable to completely control the power of the nine myriad realms Divine Suns. No living being would be able to control the energy of this super giant sun in a short period of time. The descendants of the super godly sun could only rely on their numbers and slowly nibble away at the super godly sun over hundreds of millions of years. The energy released by the myriad worlds' divine suns can still be absorbed by the divine wilderness. Over the years, the divine wilderness has been changing rapidly because of the energy of the nine myriad worlds' divine suns. More and more powerful living beings have appeared. Xiao Wufeng said, as long as we set up the formation and absorb the energy of the nine myriad worlds' divine suns, we will be able to resist the attack of a universe heart state expert. In the end, this city will still be ours. Qin Yun said, I've seen it before. The underground of this city is very mysterious. It should be the best treasure land outside of the Nine Sun Sacred Land. After the appearance of the ninth divine sun, even more powerful treasure lands appeared inside and outside the Nine Sun Sacred Land. The construction of the great divine quartz heavenly city was carefully selected by the descendants of the divine sun. Therefore, Qin Yun did not want to let go of this city. Will we make it in time? Xiao Wufeng asked. Yes. The barrier of this city is closed mainly to lure the people of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace and to save you. Now, they must be regretting it to death, Qin Yun said with a smile. All right, then let's go find Elder Xiao. Xiao Wufeng also wants to take down this city. Since Qin Yun is confident, he believes in Qin Yun. However, at this moment, Sword Elder flew in. Outside the city, waves of vast aura can be felt. A large number of barbarians are outside the city. Sword Elder looks refined and easygoing. Although his eyes are quite serious and slightly cold, his face is filled with a gentle smile. Qin Yun previously heard that this is a very cold and arrogant old man, but now it doesn't seem like it. Sword God, I didn't expect you to be able to run out of that damned place. Sword Elder laughed and said, You must have deliberately sneaked in, right? Xiao Wufeng did not answer. He only took out a storage divine tool and released all the barbarians he rescued from the southern prison. Among these people, there is a heavily injured barbarian king, but he has already been healed by Su Wanshou. When this barbarian king saw Sword Elder, his eyes immediately filled with tears because he never thought that he would be able to directly come out of that hellish southern prison. They have been tortured for many days inside, and their minds almost collapsed. Now that they can see the light of day again and return home, even if they are strong, they still shed tears of excitement. Many thanks. Sword Elder cupped his hands towards Xiao Wufeng. No need to be polite. Your actions today must also be to save me. Xiao Wufeng nodded. Many thanks for your kind intentions. Actually, our actions can't save you at all. The southern prison is too terrifying, but we just want to do our bit. Sword Elder looked towards the direction of the southern prison and let out a long sigh. Help me thank the barbarian emperor, Xiao Wufeng said again. I hope that we can further cooperate in the future. I will pass it on to him. Sword Elder nodded. He knows that Xiao Wufeng has a very high position in the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. Sword Elder really wanted to know how Xiao Wufeng managed to escape from the southern prison, but he did not ask. Sword God, do you want to take down this city? Sword Elder asked. Yes. Xiao Wufeng nodded. Qin Yun has already secretly contacted Shao Qihong and the others, telling them to immediately bring people into the city to purge. The people inside the city thought that a great battle was about to break out, so they all ran out of the city in fear. Divine Court Palace's people ran the fastest because even their boss, Nine Heaven Law Spirit, has run away. There is no need for them to continue guarding. One must know that the Nine-Yang Divine Palace and the Barbarian Army are outside. If they attack, without the army of Divine Sun descendants, no one in the Divine Desolate can withstand them. You saved our people. In order to thank you, we will help you. If the enemy is too strong, then you should also understand that there is no need to sacrifice too much in this city. Sword Elder also knows that this city is full of temptation. We will set up a great formation. As long as we finish setting up the great formation, you can retreat. Xiao Wufeng said. Just help us guard for 7 days. 7 days? All right. Sword Elder solemnly nodded. Shao Qihong, Gu Shou, Luo Shu, and the other leaders brought their respective people into the city. The barbarian race also began to cooperate and clean up the other people inside the city. Chapter 34:03. Qin Yun was always by Xiao Wufeng's side. Sword Elder only occasionally glanced at him and did not notice anything. Now that Qin Yun has changed his appearance, forget about Sword Elder. Even Xiao Wufeng might not be able to recognize him. Sword Elder has something to discuss with Xiao Wufeng, so the two of them flew to the side to talk. Qin Yun is not worried that Xiao Wufeng will be tricked by Sword Elder, because Xiao Wufeng is very strong and Sword Elder might not be his match. After Shao Qihong entered the city, he directly went to the center of the formation. He can find it very quickly. After all, he is an inscription master and is very proficient in formations. Qin Yun directly rushed to the center of the formation and saw Shao Qihong. Elder Shao, let's join hands to modify the city's barrier in various formations. We will try our best to complete it in the shortest time possible. As long as we take down this city and prevent it from being breached by the descendants of the divine sun, this city will be an important starting point for our counterattack against the descendants of the divine sun. The Nine-Yang Divine Palace is hidden in the many spaces where the Nine-Heaven Island is located. It is somewhat troublesome to enter and exit. If it is established in the heavenly city of the Great Divine Court, it will be much easier to do things in the future. After this city is emptied, accommodating 20 to 30 million people is not a problem. Moreover, there are enough resources. It can also be used for trade and gather the resources of the entire Nine-Sun Holy Land. Shao Qihong understood Qin Yun's meaning. Fighting against the descendants of the divine sun is a very long-term matter, so it needs to be developed slowly. Qin Yun and Shao Qihong immediately began to modify the various formations and barriers of the Great Divine Court's heavenly city. First, it has to be easier to control. Most importantly, it has to be able to withstand strong enough attacks. This was the most difficult point because the descendants of the divine sun had the elders of the universe realm. To block their all-out attack, they had to borrow the power of the 9 divine suns of the myriad worlds or the power of the 9 divine moons of the heavens. It is not difficult for Qin Yun to set up this kind of formation barrier because he has the Sun Emperor inscription spirit and Moon Lady inscription spirit. In addition, he has mastered many heavenly rune characters. With Shao Qihong's help, he can integrate the heavenly rune characters into the original formation barrier. Seeing Qin Yun's heavenly rune characters, Shao Qihong is very shocked. Because in the past few hundred years, Shao Qihong has discovered that the runes used in the Yu clan heavenly rune characters are actually evolved from the heavenly rune characters. Therefore, he has mastered 2 heavenly rune characters. However, there were only 2 of them, and they were the result of combining all the runes of the Yu clan heavenly talisman. Not only did Qin Yun master many heavenly rune characters, but they were also very concise, easy to understand, and powerful. Sometimes, Qin Yun was surprised by his perception of runes as well. For example, after stepping into the transcendent realm, his comprehension had deepened by another level. The 2 heavenly runes he carved were Moon and Yang. These 2 heavenly runes were comprehended by him not long ago. When he looked at the myriad worlds' divine suns and myriad heavens' divine moons, and combined them with all kinds of sun runes, sun diagrams, soaring moon runes, and moon runes, these 2 heavenly runes gradually formed in his mind. He condensed many moon heavenly runes and Yang heavenly runes and gave them to Shao Qihong to fuse into the various nodes of the formation barrier. As long as it could absorb the energy of the myriad worlds' divine sun and the myriad heavens' divine moon, the barrier of the city itself will be strengthened even more. In just a few short days, the entire Great Divine Court's Heaven City's array formation had been greatly improved. Shao Qihong couldn't help but sigh. Qin Yun's level was already so high that he couldn't understand it. In this aspect, he could no longer catch up to Qin Yun. One must know that he had taught Qin Yun about the Yu clan's heavenly talisman. In the past few days, Shao Qihong and Qin Yun had also benefited a lot from their cooperation. He had a deeper understanding of heavenly runes, which would allow him to optimize and comprehend even better heavenly runes in the future. Qin Yun and the others' actions in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City were all carried out in secret. They didn't report back to the Nine-Yang Temple because there were spies in the Nine-Yang Temple. The Sword Elder didn't understand runes, so he couldn't see any changes in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City's defensive barrier. He didn't leave the Great Divine Court's Heaven City, but continued to stay here. Even with the Nine-Yang Temple and the barbarian race's people, there were less than 10,000 people in such a huge city, which made the city seem empty. Qin Yun and the others were all inside the city, waiting for the Divine Sun descendants to send people to attack the city. If they couldn't attack the city after a few times, then the city would be safe. Early in the morning, Qin Yun came out of his room and went to find Xia Wufeng. The 2 of them are inside a secret room. Today is the 8th day since the 9 heavens' lost spirit abandoned the city, but still no one came to attack the city. Boss Xia, Did you gain anything after interacting with Sword Elder for the past few days? Qin asked. Not a small harvest. The barbarian race has mastered a cultivation method, but it is only suitable for them. The main purpose is to transform their bloodline and make it more compatible with the heaven and earth. Xiao Wufeng said. Transform bloodline? Qin Yun frowned. He recalled many things. In the past, he mastered the ability to upgrade bloodline heavenly runes, but after all kinds of upheaval, the upgrade stopped. Can he still help people upgrade bloodline heavenly runes now? Qin Yun has never tried it. He doesn't know what will happen after upgrading. Sword Elder said so, and the transformation method was passed down to the barbarian emperor by the universe beyond heavens. Sword Elder also said that the barbarian emperor wants to form an alliance with us, but when the war starts, we must listen to his command. Xiao Wufeng said, we will discuss this matter later. It seems like the barbarian race's strength is pretty good. Qin Yun said. Xiao Wufeng nodded his head and said again, they have encountered the same big problem as us. There's a traitor in their race, but they can't find him. It caused them to suffer great losses over the years. There is also a traitor in the barbarian race? Qin Yun is very surprised. It's not strange. Didn't our 9-Yang Divine Palace also have a traitor? But we can't find out who it is, and we don't have any evidence. Xiao Wufeng also feels very helpless about this matter. Boss Xia, who do you suspect is the traitor? Qin Yun asked. No one seems to be the traitor. If we want to suspect, we have to take everyone into account. And everyone cooperated with the investigation, but we can't find the traitor. Xiao Wufeng sighed and said, it seems like I have to make a trip back to 9-Yang Divine Palace and secretly investigate this matter. Qin Yun realized that the traitor's level is very high, especially in the aspect of soul. He can actually avoid the soul contract. Suddenly, a very ear-piercing hoarse cry came from outside. It is an ancient beast giving an early warning. They are finally here. Finally, I can test my modified enchantment. Qin Yun laughed and said, Boss Xia, let's go out and take a look. If the opponent is not strong, you can go out and fight with them. Xiao Wufeng immediately went out with Qin Yun. The descendants of Divine Sun have really come, and there are quite a few of them. They are in the sky above the Divine Court Mansion. Their bodies are releasing a strong light that is like the sun, covering the sky and covering the earth, enveloping the center of the city. It's the Holy Sage Army. It seems like the descendants of Divine Sun are really angry. Xiao Wufeng said with sneer. They just don't want to use the universe mind realm's elders. They still look down on us. Chapter 3404. You can search for 9 Sun Divine King on Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. After the Divine Sun descendants arrived, they immediately launched a fierce attack. In the blink of an eye, countless bolts of lightning fell from the sky, bombarding the barrier of the great Divine Court's Heaven City. As the rumbling continued, the energy waves exploded. Many people in the city were terrified, afraid that the barrier wouldn't be able to withstand it. If the barrier could not withstand such a violent attack, then the people in the city who were not strong enough would definitely be in danger. Qin Yun and Xiao Wufeng had just come out. Before they could carefully determine the number of opponents, the fierce attack had already begun. The entire Divine Court Heavenly City was covered in thunder and lightning. It was the direct attack of the Divine Sun descendants. It had to be said that there were many of them. When they attacked at the same time, the power was indeed very terrifying. If the Divine Court Heavenly City's barrier had not been strengthened, without the power of the myriad realms' Divine Sun, it would have already been broken. The group of Divine Sun descendants attacked for a full hour before stopping. They now realized that this kind of attack was meaningless. The Divine Court Heavenly City's barrier was not the same as before. It had already been improved. Qin Yun's improved barrier was very clever. This kind of barbaric method of pure energy attack was the easiest to resist. The barrier could absorb this part of the energy and transform it into its own, or it could disperse this energy and guide it into the ground. Defending against the attack was not purely a head-on attack. It required many ingenious methods to quantify the power of the attack. Although the Divine Sun descendants had stopped attacking, there were still all kinds of energy light mist shrouding the sky above the divine court heavenly city. It looked like it was shrouded by golden clouds. When the energy mist dissipated, the group of Divine Sun descendants had already disappeared. These guys are quite smart. They know that they can't break it, so they temporarily leave to avoid a counterattack. Qin Yun said with a smile. Xiao Qihong had been in the center of the formation to control it. At first, he was quite nervous, worried that the barrier would be broken. But later, he gradually relaxed. He knew that the barrier was powerful, and he was even more amazed. The Divine Sun descendants had already retreated, but they were still nearby, and there were many of them. Soon, Luo Shu sent them news that there were more than 100,000 heavenly venerables mobilized this time. This number was very terrifying. Although there were no Universe Heart Realm Elders coming, it meant that the Divine Sun descendants attached great importance to this matter. It was important to know that the descendants of the Divine Sun clan were very arrogant. If there was nothing important, they would not be willing to come to a place outside the Nine Sun sacred ground. This was because they would feel very uncomfortable if they left the Nine Sun sacred ground or the Nine Myriad Divine Suns. They needed to be able to absorb the most powerful energy in this world at all times. Outside the Holy Land, this energy was extremely thin. If they did not absorb enough, they would become very irritable and their entire bodies would feel uncomfortable. 100,000. Unfortunately, it's very hard to exterminate all of them. Xia Wufeng sighed. If the souls of these descendants of the Divine Sun God were not indestructible, they could still be destroyed. The current situation was that after killing them, their souls would fly back, and they would soon be able to regenerate their bodies. Although there are many of them, there aren't many peak space transformation realm experts. Qin Yun said, I heard from Su Wancho that even among the descendants of Divine Sun, peak space transformation realm cultivators are not everywhere on the streets. That is indeed the case, but it is not easy for us to charge in and kill their peak space transformation realm experts. Xia Wufeng shook his head. They know that the enemy this time is me and Elder Jian, so they will definitely be on guard. Qin Yun thought for a moment and said, Boss Xia, can you let Elder Jian stay in the city to guard? I have a way to lure out some of the peak space transformation realm experts. Su Wancho as bait? Xia Wufeng also thought of it. If it was anyone else, Xia Wufeng would have immediately objected because they had spent a lot of effort to save Su Wancho. But with Qin Yun here, Xia Wufeng believes that Su Wancho's safety can be guaranteed. Yes, Qin Yun smiled. Poor Su Wancho, he is still sleeping soundly in Qin Yun's storage divine tool. All right, I can let Elder Jian stay in the city to guard. You can go find Elder Xiao and the others to make arrangements. After Xia Wufeng finished speaking, he immediately went to find Elder Jian. The attack of the Divine Sun God Palace's descendants also stunned Elder Jian and the group of barbarian warriors. They never expected that the inscription masters of the Nine Yang Divine Palace would be able to transform the barrier to such a powerful state in such a short period of time. With this powerful barrier, Xia Wufeng asked Elder Jian to stay for a period of time, and Elder Jian readily agreed. After all, Xia Wufeng had done a great favor for their barbarian race. He had saved their barbarian king and many loyal and devoted clansmen. Qin Yun arrived at the center of the Great Formation and found Xiao Qihong. He also summoned Gu Shou, Luo Shu, Luo Shuang, Nine Dragon King, Xian Shazi, Vermilion Bird Patriarch, White Tiger Patriarch, and Strange Cat King. Su Wancho was also released from the Storage Divine Tool by Qin Yun. To make a long story short, I need to lure out those peak space transformation realm Divine Sun descendants outside and kill them as much as possible. Qin Yun looked at Su Wancho and continued, I want to use Su Wancho as bait. You should all roughly understand by now. Su Wancho curled his lips. He did not say anything. He felt somewhat uncomfortable in his heart, but with Qin Yun here, he is still very safe. We will report the situation here and inform the Nine Yang Divine Palace. We are preparing to secretly escort Su Wancho out of the city. Elder Xiao nodded. There was a traitor in the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. As long as this matter was passed down, the Divine Sun descendants outside would quickly find out. The people escorting Su Wancho were all experts, so the Divine Sun descendants would definitely send a large number of peak space transformation realm experts to capture Su Wancho. I and Boss Xie will leave the city. Everyone else, stay in the city. Qin Yun said. Sword Elder will stay in the city for a period of time. Even if the barrier is broken, with Sword Elder's protection, everyone will be able to safely retreat. Gu Shou and Xiao Qihong are also very strong, so Qin Yun also let them stay in the city. After they discussed the details, Qin Yun and Xiao Wufeng brought Su Wancho and set off, pretending to return to the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. Xiao Qihong sent back the route they took. As long as this news was known by the traitor, the Divine Sun descendants would quickly catch up. The news that was sent back said that Xiao Wufeng was escorting Su Wancho alone. The Divine Sun descendants knew that Xiao Wufeng was very strong, so they would definitely send many peak space transformation realm or even universe heart realm elders. After Qin Yun became invisible, he followed beside Xiao Wufeng and Su Wancho, ready to attack at any time. This time, they wanted to use the traitor of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace to fight against the Divine Sun descendants. If they really succeeded, they could use this trick a few more times in the future. Xiao Wufeng felt very satisfied just thinking about it. He really hoped that the Divine Sun descendants' Universe Heart Realm Elders would come out. Nine-Yang Divine King latest chapter. Nine-Yang Divine King full text reading address. /55876 / Nine-Yang Divine King text download address. Nine-Yang Divine King mobile reading. /55876 In order to facilitate next time reading, you can click collect below to record this reading record, chapter 3404. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like Nine-Yang Divine King, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Chapter 3405. Last time, Xiao Wufeng was tricked by the Divine Sun descendants Uxian realm. His own strength was very strong, and he could fight against more than 10 peak space transformation realm experts. However, facing the Uxian realm Divine Sun descendant, he could not hold on for long. Qin Yun hid himself and maintained a certain distance from Xiao Wufeng. He was neither too far nor too close, so that he could immediately support him. They left from the east gate of the great divine Quartz Heaven City, and this route had already been sent back to the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. Xiao Wufeng brought Su Wancho and very carefully traversed through a mountain forest. They did not fly. Firstly, they deliberately slowed down, and secondly, they pretended that they were very cautious. I hope that the traitor of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace will be able to send this news back as soon as possible. Qin Yun concentrated and sensed the movements in all directions. If a Divine Sun descendant approached, he would immediately discover it. Outside the great divine Quartz Heaven City, there were originally many Divine Sun descendants. It was unknown what their Saint Sovereign Army was doing hiding outside the city. Their previous attack had failed, but they did not leave. They only waited outside the city. The Nine-Yang Divine Palace's spies had already begun to move to spy on the Divine Sun descendants. This was mainly the responsibility of the Heaven Secrets sect spies. The spies of the Heaven Secrets sect could hide even better and not be discovered. Half a day passed, and Qin Yun suddenly sensed the aura of the Divine Sun descendants. Boss, yeah, they're here. Qin Yun immediately approached Xiao Wufeng and secretly transmitted his voice. There are quite a few of them, a total of 20. Su Wancho also sensed it at this moment, and immediately used Qin Yun's invisibility technique to conceal himself. Brother Yun, don't be in such a hurry to attack. If I can't beat them, it won't be too late for you to attack. Xiao Wufeng said. All right. Qin Yun replied and arrived beside Su Wancho. Although Su Wancho was invisible, Qin Yun could still see him with his heavenly eye, and Su Wancho could not sense Qin Yun at all. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Qin Yun patted Su Wancho's shoulder. This caused Su Wancho's entire body to tremble. Hearing Qin Yun's voice in his mind, Su Wanshou felt relieved. The 20 divine sun descendants quickly arrived. Now, they are even more certain that there is a traitor in the 9 Yang divine sun palace. Among the 20 divine sun descendants that surrounded Xia Wufeng, 10 were peak space transformation realm, and the other 10 were late space transformation realm. Xia Wufeng did not immediately fight them head-on. Instead, he circled around them and dodged their attacks. It shouldn't be. Su Wanshou was very puzzled as he transmitted his voice to Qin Yun. Brother Yun, the descendants of the divine sun must have placed great importance on me. Why do they only send these people? Isn't this enough? Qin Yun felt that the divine sun descendant was quite generous. They know that the sword god is here, and they want to capture me. In other words, their mission this time is to capture the 2 of us. But this number is obviously not enough. Su Wanshou said, that means they have helpers on the way. Qin Yun looked around and became even more vigilant. He has the state of mind. Su Wanshou suddenly became very nervous. The divine sun descendants UXIN realm seniors were still very strong. Su Wanshou knew that Qin Yun had stepped into the transcendent realm, which was equivalent to having a UXIN realm. However, Su Wanshou did not know exactly how strong it was. In addition, there might be more Yushinjing among the descendants of the divine sun god. This was what he was most worried about. If there is really any danger, I will immediately put you away. Qin Yun could feel that Su Wanshou was very afraid at the moment. Su Wanshou really did not want to be captured. Once he was captured, he would inevitably be tortured. Moreover, he believed that he was the key to restraining the descendants of the divine sun god, or the key to transforming their bloodline. He wanted to do something for the living beings of this land. Once he was captured, he would not be able to do anything. I know, but the UXIN realm has not come out yet. Su Wanshou believed that the descendants of the divine sun god would definitely send out the UXIN realm. Can't you sense it? Qin Yun asked. No, their strength surpasses mine by too much. Su Wanshou had a special perception that allowed him to sense the nearby descendants of the divine sun god. However, the prerequisite was that their cultivation did not surpass his by too much. Then let's continue waiting. Qin Yun looked at Xia Wufeng's battle. His 2 fingers closed together, ready to use the heaven-extinguishing finger at any time. The sword god can deal with those guys, but I'm afraid that the UXIN realm will suddenly attack. We have to confirm how many UXIN realm they have. Su Wanshou summoned his courage and made a decision. He said, Brother Yun, I will appear later and lure out the UXIN realm. This is a bit risky. Qin Yun is also not sure whether or not Su Wanshou would be captured after concealing himself. Qin Yun is confident that he can fight against the UXIN realm descendants of the divine sun god, but he does not know much about their abilities. He is not completely sure that Su Wanshou will not be captured. How about this? I will leak my aura, but I will still be invisible. Su Wanshou said again. All right, I will stand beside you. Once someone comes near, I will put you away. Qin Yun placed his hand on Su Wanshou's shoulder. This way, he can protect him even faster. Su Wanshou leaked his aura, but not a lot. If he leaked too much, it would be too obvious. If there really was a UXIN realm nearby, as long as Su Wanshou leaked a bit of his aura, he would be discovered. Sure enough, after Su Wanshou leaked his aura, a very strong mental power swept over. It's a UXIN realm. Su Wanshou is immediately horrified. At the same time, he was stored in a storage divine tool by Qin Yun. At the same time, a very powerful energy fluctuation rushed over. The UXIN realm of a divine sun descendant has appeared. What caused Qin Yun to be shocked is that this person is not an old man. He looks very young, and his outer appearance is that of a young man. Qin Yun is still invisible. He wants to see if this divine sun descendant with the UXIN realm can discover him. Little Su, this guy is not from the older generation. He looks very handsome, and there is a red lotus imprint between his eyebrows. Qin Yun described the UXIN realm to Su Wanshou. Oh no, this guy is very strong. Su Wanshou said in fear from inside the storage divine tool. He is Red Lotus Saint Venerable. Saint Venerables with honorific titles all have very strong UXIN realm. His UXIN realm is a red lotus. It is said to be formed from the divine sun blood seed crystal. Red Lotus Saint Venerable looked all around. His powerful mental power swept back and forth. He is currently looking for Su Wancho, who has disappeared. He still hasn't discovered Qin Yin, who is only a few meters away from him. Not being able to find Su Wancho, Red Lotus Saint Venerable's expression gradually became gloomy. The red lotus between his eyebrows suddenly flickered with intense red light. His eyes also seemed to have two lotus flowers flickering with red light. This time, he immediately discovered that something was very close to him. This caused him to be greatly shocked. There was actually someone so close to him, and only now did he realize that this person was not Su Wancho. He discovered that someone was nearby, but he couldn't see who it was, nor could he tell the other party's strength. Barbarian Emperor, I know it's you. Red Lotus Saint Venerable said in a deep voice. Outside of the Nine Suns sacred land, the only one with this kind of strength was the Barbarian Emperor. Therefore, Red Lotus Saint Venerable believed that the Barbarian Emperor had come. After all, Elder Jian had previously appeared in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City. Chapter 3406. Red Lotus Saint Venerable was able to sense that there was someone, but Qin Yin immediately disappeared. That was because Qin Yin had just moved. Furthermore, his speed was very fast, and he did not release any aura. Barbarian Emperor, you shouldn't be such a sneaky rat. The Red Lotus Saint Venerable's mental power was released crazily, sweeping in all directions again and again, trying to find the person. The red light in his eyes intensified, but he still could not see Qin Yin. Saint Venerable Red Lotus also found it very strange. They, the descendants of the Divine Sun clan, had a lot of information about the Barbarian Emperor, but they had never known that the Barbarian Emperor had such a powerful concealment technique. Now, he began to suspect that the other party was not the Barbarian Emperor. If it was the Barbarian Emperor and he had such a concealment technique, he would definitely attack instead of hiding. One must know that although the Divine Sun descendants had strong mental states, they were still somewhat afraid of the Barbarian Emperor. If they were to face the Barbarian Sovereign and couldn't defeat him, their bodies would definitely be destroyed. A descendant of the Divine Sun in the UXIN state would need a lot of time to cultivate his original powerful physical body. For example, their UXIN was a God Sun blood seed crystal. It took a long time and a large amount of energy from the myriad world's God Sun core to cultivate it. Of course, even if they didn't have their original powerful bodies, they could rely on their powerful souls to still be at the highest level of the Divine Sun's descendants. Qin Yin is now hiding underground. He is ready to attack, but now is not the time to do so, because Xia Wufeng's situation had not yet stabilized. He had exposed that he was fighting with Saint Venerable Red Lotus. If he was careless, and Xia Wufeng was ambushed by the Divine Sun descendant of Yuxinjing, it would definitely be very dangerous. Qin Yin can't guarantee that there are no other people with Universe Mind Realm in the vicinity, so he has to pay attention to Xia Wufeng. He knew that Red Lotus Saint Venerable, who had the Universe Mind Realm, was enough. If he wanted to fight with Red Lotus Saint Venerable, he would have to wait for Xia Wufeng to finish his business. On the way here, Qin Yin gave Xia Wufeng some soul-sealing pearls he made not long ago. They can be used to capture the souls of Divine Sun descendants. Xia Wufeng had already finished off 3 peak space transformation realms now, and he was getting faster and faster. Sacred Venerable Red Lotus was searching for Qin Yin. What infuriated him was that even a Divine Sun descendant, a space transformation realm expert, was not Xia Wufeng's match. A bunch of good-for-nothings. There are clearly so many of you, but you still can't beat a human. The Red Lotus Saint Venerable had no choice but to take action. Otherwise, their peak universe transformation realm experts would be killed. The other late-stage space transformation realms were already finished off. Their souls were captured by Xia Wufeng using the soul-sealing pearl. Just as Saint Venerable Red Lotus was about to go over, he felt a chill behind him. Qin Yin remained invisible. When he came out from underground, he secretly leaked a bit of his aura to pressure Sacred Venerable Red Lotus. "What on earth are you?" Red Lotus Saint Venerable could not see the other party, but the other party really did exist, and he was very strong. He could not help but be secretly frightened. If they were at the same level of strength and couldn't see each other, they would definitely be at a disadvantage in a fight. Of course, Qinyan wouldn't answer. Furthermore, he couldn't release his aura, putting immense pressure on his opponent. After Sacred Venerable Red Lotus locked onto Qinyan's position, she suddenly rushed over. However, Qinyan suddenly disappeared. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was furious, but there was nothing she could do. "Are you a human or a ghost?" "We don't have any grudges with the human ghost emperor, and the human ghost emperor has always disliked humans," Saint Venerable Red Lotus said coldly. "If you are a human ghost, it's best that you leave immediately. Don't help humans. If you anger us, descendants of the Divine Sun, even if you are a human ghost, we will still think of a way to exterminate you. At that time, you can forget about staying in the Nine Sun Sacred Land." Qinyan was secretly alarmed. Previously, Saint Venerable Red Lotus had mistaken him for the barbarian emperor, but later felt that he wasn't. Now, he actually thought that he was a human ghost. If not for Saint Venerable Red Lotus mentioning human ghosts, Qinyan would have almost forgotten about such a strange existence. Qinyan had previously met a human ghost in the Nine Sun Sacred Land. Furthermore, he had a good relationship with the human ghost emperor. They cooperated for a period of time and obtained great benefits. After that cooperation, the human ghost emperor left with a group of human ghosts, saying that he wanted to cultivate and evolve. After that, Qinyan never saw them again. It was very difficult for human ghosts to see them in the Nine Sun Sacred Land. Qinyan could only see them through the heavenly eye and communicate with them. Regarding the existence of human ghosts, Qinyan later asked the Heavenly Law Spirit, but even the Heavenly Law Spirit didn't know. And human ghosts could restrain barbarian beasts. They could easily kill barbarian beasts. The human ghost is back. Qinyan was secretly delighted. If the human ghost emperor was in the Nine Sun Sacred Land, it would be of great help to Qinyan. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was very puzzled as to why Xia Wufeng was able to contact the human ghost race. One had to know that even the descendants of the Divine Sun could only barely sense the existence of human ghosts, much less communicate with them. He glanced at Xia Wufeng and knew that the other party wanted to protect Xia Wufeng. Therefore, he immediately shot a ball of red energy at Xia Wufeng. Qinyan immediately flashed over and shattered the ball of energy. Saint Venerable Red Lotus' handsome face turned even colder. He smiled sinisterly and then charged at Xia Wufeng. He knew that the other party wanted to protect Xia Wufeng. As long as he attacked Xia Wufeng crazily, he would be able to force the other party to make a move. Qinyan had no choice but to make a move now. He struck out with the heaven-piercing finger that he had been condensing for a long time. An incomparably overbearing power penetrated through. Saint Venerable Red Lotus felt a suffocating sense of destruction. Boom! Saint Venerable Red Lotus never expected the other party's attack to be so overbearing. His body suffered a violent impact and was sent flying by the Tao power. However, Saint Venerable Red Lotus is not injured at all. Qinyan is secretly alarmed. He never expected that this Divine Sun descendant of Uxian realm would be much stronger than he imagined. A red disk appeared in Saint Venerable Red Lotus's bosom. Upon closer inspection, the disk looks like a red lotus flower. Qinyan immediately informed Su Wanshou of this matter. "That's his weapon. This thing is very strong. You have to be careful." Su Wanshou said. It said that the material is divine sun blood seed crystal. Just now, Saint Venerable Red Lotus used this red lotus to block Qinyan's heaven-piercing finger. That's why he was not injured. Saint Venerable Red Lotus is even more puzzled because the other party's attack doesn't seem like that of a human ghost, although he doesn't know what kind of power a human ghost has. Qinyan's power is very overbearing. It looks like it comes from his body. This is more like the power of the barbarian race. Could it be that you are the barbarian sovereign? Saint Venerable Red Lotus said angrily. He is now a bit confused. Qinyan also found it funny. This Saint Venerable Red Lotus seems to be very suspicious. After he finished attacking, he immediately concealed himself. Saint Venerable Red Lotus also lost the direction of his attack. As for Qinyan, he continued to condense heaven-piercing finger. This time, he did not attack the other party's heart, but the head. Boom! Qinyan attacked once again. However, Saint Venerable Red Lotus sensed the energy fluctuations immediately and used his Red Lotus to block it. This time, Qinyan's heaven-piercing finger struck the center of the Red Lotus. His tyrannical and unstoppable power was directly devoured. Chapter 3407. Saint Venerable Red Lotus gradually calmed down. Previously, because he could not see the enemy, he was a little flustered and even fearful. Now that he saw that his opponent's attack wasn't too strong and couldn't do anything to him, his mentality suddenly became much better. He knew very well that if he continued to panic, he would definitely lose in the end. The reason why Qinyan maintained such a method to deal with his opponent was to make him panic. No matter who you are, I will definitely teach you a lesson today. Red Lotus Saint Venerable had been trying to guess the other party's background, but now that he had calmed down, he realized that he did not need to know who the other party was. As long as he defeated the other party, he would be able to figure out the other party's identity. Qinyan could only continue attacking, or Sacred Venerable Red Lotus would charge towards Xie Wufeng. His attack did not become stronger. The power of his sky-piercing finger was enough to injure Red Lotus Saint Venerable, but it was blocked. The Red Lotus Divine Tool was very powerful. Qinyan was certain that even if he used his strongest power, he would not be able to break through the Red Lotus Divine Tool's defense. Therefore, he could only find a very good opportunity to catch Saint Venerable Red Lotus off guard and hit her with his sky-piercing finger. Qinyan discovered that Sacred Venerable Red Lotus improved very quickly. He quickly adapted to a battle where he could not see the enemy. Red Lotus Saint Venerable can't see Qinyan, but when Qinyan attacks, he can immediately sense Qinyan's position. Then, he will immediately rush over to attack. But every time he attacks, he misses. However, the Red Lotus Saint Venerable did not give up, nor was she angry. She was able to stabilize her emotions and continue to attack. At the same time, it was getting easier and easier for him to block Qinyan's sky-piercing finger. It was as if he could use the Red Lotus Divine Artifact to block it with just a casual move. Qinyan was greatly surprised by this. He guessed that Sacred Venerable Red Lotus rarely experienced battle, but she could improve very quickly in the process of battle. Her learning ability was extremely strong. Little Sue, Saint Sovereign Red Lotus, is quite strong. How much do you know about him? Qinyan can also attack, but now is not the time. He has to wait for Xie Wufeng to finish his business. Only when Xie Wufeng left safely could he throw himself into the fierce battle without any scruples. If Xie Wufeng was suddenly ambushed by the hidden realm of the universe, then he wouldn't be able to make it in time. Red Lotus Saint Venerable did not know what Qinyan was thinking. He only believed that Qinyan was not that strong, so he did not dare to fight him head-on. All he did was hide in the shadows and constantly ambush people. I don't know much about him. These realm of universe demonic insects are very mysterious. Although I've seen them a few times, what use is it? I'm sure they won't tell us everything. Suwancho was also a little nervous as he asked, Big Brother Yin, what's your situation now? You can't beat Saint Venerable Red Lotus and are about to be killed? Right, that Red Lotus of his was called the Blood Crystal Life Artifact, similar to a Life Divine Artifact. I won't be killed. I'm playing with this guy. Qinyan is not bragging because he did not use his full strength. Moreover, his strongest point is close combat. If a sneak attack was successful, Qinyan would definitely not engage in close combat. He preferred sneak attacks. Under the situation where the enemy did not notice anything, he would give them a head-on blow and directly stun them. From time to time, Xiao Wufeng would also pay attention to the situation on Qin Yun's side. He only saw sacred venerable red lotus running around alone and suddenly attacking from time to time. It was as if she was fighting an invisible person. Seeing that Saint Venerable Red Lotus was at a disadvantage, Xiao Wufeng was completely relieved. He can now focus on dealing with his enemies. Actually, he was also worried that there might be another divine son descendant hiding nearby. Not long after, Xiao Wufeng finished his battle. All the divine son descendants that surrounded him were killed by him. Their souls were sealed in the soul-sealing pearl. Qin Yun's soul-sealing pearl has many heavenly rune characters carved on it. It can seal the souls of divine son descendants for a short period of time, but not for a long period of time. He is currently unable to create such a powerful soul-sealing pearl. The main reason is that the souls of divine son descendants are too strong. Running around inside the soul-sealing pearl will affect the stability of the runes. It won't be long before they break out. After Xiao Wufeng finished fighting, he immediately took out the invisibility heavenly talisman that Qin Yun gave him so that he could fight properly. He naturally knew that Qin Yun held back a certain amount of strength so that he could support him when needed. Seeing Xiao Wufeng disappear, Qin Yun felt relieved. "Are you going to fight seriously?" Red Lotus Saint Venerable said with sneer. He is not worried about his companions. From Red Lotus Saint Venerable's point of view, his companions are immortal. Their souls will soon fly back to the core of the myriad realms' divine sun to be reborn and report what happened here. Qin Yun is indeed going to fight seriously. He suddenly approached and directly punched. His flying speed is very fast. The speed of his punch is like thunder. It has an imposing aura that can collapse the heavens and rend the earth. The fist wind brought along a burst of whistling wind. Just as it was about to collide with Red Lotus, his fist was blocked by the Red Lotus. What caused Qin Yun to be alarmed is that when his fist hit the Red Lotus, it is as if he hit a very soft thing. The power that he burst out dissipated in an instant. Qin Yun immediately dodging Red Lotus Saint Venerable's dagger. That dagger is red and seems to be made of the same material as the Red Lotus Divine Tool. You are only SOSO. Red Lotus Saint Venerable can sense the power that Qin Yun just released through his Divine Tool. That kind of power is very strange. It is not any kind of power that he is familiar with. Furthermore, it is very powerful. However, it was still dissipated by his Red Lotus in the end. Seeing that the enemy's powerful attack was easily blocked by him, Red Lotus Saint Venerable became even more confident. At the same time, he secretly mocked himself for being so afraid of him. Scoundrel is scoundrel. You are not strong enough, so you can only hide. Red Lotus Saint Venerable lost his target again because Qin Yun suddenly hid himself again. Qin Yun has already realized how powerful the opponent's Red Lotus Divine Tool is. It can absorb energy. Furthermore, if the thing that collides with the Red Lotus Divine Tool is not strong enough, it will not be able to shake this Divine Tool. Qin Yun's body is very strong, and his fist is naturally very strong. However, it is not enough to face the powerful divine Sun Blood Seed Crystal. Therefore, when his fist hit the Red Lotus Divine Tool, it did not produce any power at all. A sword suddenly appeared in Qin Yun's hand while he was hiding. This is the High Heaven Divine Sword. Although Ling Wan is at the peak of the space transformation realm, his sword is still very good. It is said that it is also fused with the divine Sun Blood Seed Crystal's material. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not be willing to use this sword to clash head-on with other divine tools. However, Qin Yun was willing to do so because this is not his sword. Qin Yun attacked once again, and this time, he did not leak any of his aura. He only needed to condense all the lawless power in his body and strengthen all aspects of his strength. Using this method to attack from a distance, the opponent would not be able to sense his position. Only when he got close would he be discovered. When he got close, the enemy would realize that it was already too late. No matter what, he would have to suffer a blow. Chapter 34:08. Qin Yun's sword strike is still very domineering. Lawless power is circulating within the sword body. Furthermore, Qin Yun's arm is constantly surging with lawless power, attacking the sword body wave after wave, increasing the sword's power. This power would not leave the sword. Instead, under Qin Yun's control, it would release an explosive force. When combined with the heaven-surmounting divine sword's attack, it would produce an even stronger force, allowing it to clash with the opponent's Red Lotus divine artifact. Saint Venerable Red Lotus quickly controlled the Red Lotus divine artifact to block in front of him. But this time, a very fierce collision occurred. This was a head-on collision. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was sent flying by this force. The Red Lotus divine weapon in his hand was actually damaged. And just now, Qin Yun could not control the heaven-surmounting divine sword's invisibility and directly expose the sword. Heaven-surging divine sword. Ling Wan's sword. As Red Lotus Saint Venerable was sent flying, he shouted in surprise, "Where's Ling Wan?" They had lost contact with Ling Wan for a period of time. She had been sent to capture Su Wanshou, but she had never returned. Logically speaking, Ling Wan was a very strong peak of the universe transformation realm. Even if she encountered the universe heart realm, her soul should be able to escape. Also, they had soul beads. That bead did not shatter, which meant that Ling Wan's soul was still alive. In the collision just now, the sword tip of the High Heaven Divine sword was already broken. The entire sword suffered a lot of damage. Red Lotus Saint Venerable's Red Lotus Divine weapon was also quite damaged. After all, the Lingtian Divine sword was still very strong, and the power of the collision just now was also very strong. After his Life Divine weapon was damaged, he began to panic. He couldn't see the other party, and the other party could prevent Ling Wan from returning. If the fight continued, he would fall into the other party's hands, and there was a high chance that he wouldn't be able to return. Escape was the best option. Red Lotus Saint Venerable immediately decided to leave. Qin Yun did not have the confidence to defeat Sacred Venerable Red Lotus. After all, his opponent's equipment was very strong, and Qin Yun did not have a good weapon. It would not be easy to defeat him. If Sacred Venerate Red Lotus wanted to leave, Qin Yun definitely could not stop her. This time, their goal was achieved, which was to lure out the peak space transformation realm of the Holy Venerable's army and kill them. The majority of the powerful peak or late-stage space transformation realm experts in the Holy Sovereign Army followed the Red Lotus Saint Venerable to chase after Xia Wufeng. They didn't expect that this was a trap set by the other party. They won't be able to send pinnacle space transformation realm experts over in a short period of time. We will directly surround and annihilate their Holy Venerable army. Qin Yun transmitted his voice to Xia Wufeng, then immediately rushed to the Great Divine Court's Heaven City. Gu Shou and the others in Divine Court's Heaven City were ready to attack. Once Qin Yun and Xia Wufeng succeeded, they could leave the city to fight. Half a day later, Qin Yun and Xia Wufeng could see Divine Court's Heavenly City. Divine Court Sky City was under attack. It was not a direct attack by a large number of Divine Sun God descendants. Instead, there was a huge crystal ball floating in the air. The group of Divine Sun God descendants were transferring energy to the crystal ball. After the crystal ball absorbed their energy, under the control of one of their leaders, a beam of light shot out toward the barrier of Divine Court Heaven City. The beam of light kept shooting out, as if it was going to pierce through the barrier. Moreover, its energy was getting stronger and stronger. Qin Yun immediately used a sound transmission array disc to contact Xiao Qihong. Elder Xiao, are their attacks damaging the barrier? Qin Yun asked. The damage is not small. If we give them another 3 days, a small hole will be broken in the barrier. Xiao Qihong said, I don't know where they got this thing from. Qin Yun was only at the east side of the Divine Court's Heavenly City, so he only saw one. In other directions, there were groups of Divine Sun descendants surrounding a crystal ball. They wanted to open an opening from several directions. What are these guys thinking? Even if they open an entrance, then what? Qin Yun sneered in his heart. Brother Yin, let's begin. Xia Wufeng already summoned the origin sword in his hand. a powerful sword aura suddenly swept over. Qin Yun immediately informed Xiao Qi Hong and the others to attack. Even if Red Lotus Saint Venerable came, Qin Yun would be able to block him. Xiao Wufeng rushed over and killed the group of Divine Sun descendants in a few moves. He took away the crystal ball. People rushed out of every city gate of Great Divine Court Sky City to fight with the group of Divine Sun descendants. Gu Shou, Sword Elder, and Xiao Qi Hong all ran out. They are all extremely powerful peak space transformation realm experts. They are also the nightmare of peak space transformation realm experts of Divine Sun descendants. In just 2 hours, the Saint Venerable army sent by the Divine Sun descendants were killed just like that. Red Lotus Saint Venerable doesn't seem to care about their lives. After all, in his eyes, the souls of the Divine Sun descendants are immortal. After their bodies are killed, their souls can fly back to the myriad realms Divine Sun to be reborn. Therefore, they never had the heart to save their companions' lives. Too many Divine Sun descendants have been killed, but Qin Yun and the others only caught the late stage or peak space transformation realm souls. The rest of the souls could only fly back. Qin Yun can use the Soul Sealing Pearl to seal the souls of the Divine Sun descendants, and also use the Soul Lost due to erase their consciousness, but this is only for a small number of them. And facing a large number of Divine Sun descendants' souls, he can only watch helplessly as they fly back to be reborn. Of course, Qin Yun doesn't have the confidence to take down the Universe Heart Realm. For example, Red Lotus Saint Venerable's soul is very strong. The Soul Sealing Pearl might not be able to seal it. The battle is over, but it is only a temporary end. The Divine Sun descendants will definitely come again. Moreover, the strength will be even more ferocious than before, but it will take a period of time. Before that, Qin Yun must return to the Nine-Yang Divine Palace to uncover the traitor and then rescue Xian Qingning. Xian Qingning received a very important inheritance of memories. The Universe Lost Spirit and the Nine-Yang Lost Spirit might have left some information for Qin Yun through Xian Qingning. Sword Elder secretly admired the Nine-Yang Divine Palace's strength. He never expected that the Nine-Yang Divine Palace was hiding such a terrifying power. It was as if Xiao Wufeng had pretended to be captured into the southern dungeon and then attacked from the inside. Then he coordinated with the outside to take down the city and, at the same time, rescued the important Su Wanshou. The most amazing thing is that the Nine-Yang Divine Palace actually blocked the attack of the Divine Sun descendants. At night, Xiao Wufeng and Sword Elder discussed the cooperation in the hall. Qin Yun asked Xiao Wufeng to send an invitation to the barbarian race to develop in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City. Everyone will protect this city together. Sword Elder is also very interested in this matter. Xiao Qi Hong and the others also joined in to discuss the details of the cooperation. As for Qin Yun, he floated above the Great Divine Court's Heaven City and looked at the 9 heavens' divine moons in the sky. His lovers are all on the heavens' divine moons. The seal of the heavens' divine moons is very strong. It is said that it was sealed by the Divine Sun descendants, but Qin Yun does not believe that it is true. The formation enchantment of the Divine Sun descendants is not particularly brilliant. How could it seal the 9 powerful heavens' divine moons? Even if Qin Yun did not approach it, he could sense how strong the seal of the heavens' divine moons is. I wonder if Xian Qingning has any clues. Qin Yun can only go in that direction. A seal that can seal the heavens' divine moons. Qin Yun is also helpless. This must involve a very powerful energy. This energy comes from the 9 divine suns of the myriad worlds. Perhaps only the Universe Law Spirit and the Nine-Yang Law Spirit know. Chapter 3409. The next time the descendants of the Divine Sun God attacked the Great Divine Court's Heaven City, it would be very tragic. The descendants of the Divine Sun God Sun would definitely be mobilized in large numbers. In order to prepare for battle, Qin Yun had to first eliminate the traitor hidden in the upper echelons of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. If he didn't get rid of this traitor, he wouldn't be able to make arrangements in advance, because at that time, he would have to mobilize a large portion of the 9 Yang Divine Palace's power. If the descendants of the Divine Sun found out, the consequences would be severe. In addition, Qin Yun wanted to use the traitor to pass on false information. He could set up a trap for the Divine Sun descendants to fall for it. This would save him a lot of trouble. After a round of discussion, Qin Yun decided to let Luo Shuang bring him back to the 9 Yang Divine Palace. The others would remain in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City. With Gu Shou and Xia woofing around, and Shao Qihong in charge of controlling the array formation, the city would be safer. Even if the other party sent someone with a mental state, they wouldn't be able to break through in a short period of time. They would have enough time to wait for Qin Yun's reinforcements. Luo Shuang was the goddess of the 9 heavens. She had to return to the 9 Yang Divine Palace as soon as possible. Otherwise, the descendants of the Divine Sun God would continue to keep an eye on her. The descendants of the God Sun God also wanted to dig out some useful inheritance from Luo Shuang. They believed that the outer space being had also inherited something from Luo Shuang. Luo Shu is still in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City. Qin Yun gave her a very important mission to activate Luo Yingtian. Luo Yingtian was the avatar of the 9 Heavens Dharma Spirit, and the 9 Heavens Dharma Spirit now controlled the Divine Court of Myriad Realms. Although he had escaped, he was still the boss of the Divine Court of Myriad Realms when he returned to the Divine Court Heaven City in the 9 Sun Sacred Ground. When the time came to attack the Great Divine Court's Heaven City, the 9 Heavens Dharma Spirits would definitely be at the forefront. Qin Yun wanted Luo Shu to think of a way to secretly contact Luo Yingtian. He wanted Luo Yingtian to kill the 9 Heavens Lost Spirit and replace him as the leader of the Myriad Realms' Divine Court. Back then, when Luo Yingtian found out that he was someone else's avatar, he doubted his life for a very long time. But later, under Qin Yun's guidance, he gradually accepted it and had a goal. It was to kill the 9 Heavens Lost Spirit's true body. As long as the 9 Heavens Lost Spirit died, he, Luo Yingtian, would no longer be someone else's avatar. This was also the day he had patiently waited for. As for the success of Luo Yingtian's operation, Qin Yun was only half sure. He would not place all his hopes of destroying the Divine Hall of the Myriad Worlds on Luo Yingtian. It would be best if Luo Yingtian could complete it, but if he couldn't, then he would have to come up with a backup plan. After arranging the matters in the Great Divine Court's Heaven City, Qin Yun and Luo Shuang departed for the 9 Yang Divine Temple. The 9 Yang Divine Palace was located on the 9 Heavens Island, and the 9 Heavens Island was hidden in a multi-layered space. That multi-layered space was very powerful. It had its own consciousness and even fused with 9 Heavens Island. Later on, it evolved and became even stronger. Even if the descendants of the Divine Sun God found this space, it would not be easy for them to enter. Entering and exiting 9 Heavens Island required a special teleportation formation, which would send one to an extremely secure underground palace. Only after being inspected in this secret palace and confirming that there were no problems could they teleport to 9 Heavens Island through the teleportation formation here. They would need to go through 8 teleportations along the way. Because it was very troublesome to go in and out, they rarely returned to 9 Heavens Island if there was nothing important. For example, the army that had come to rescue Xia Wufeng was stationed outside and mixed in with some strong clans. They would only be summoned when needed and then signed a confidential soul contract. Luo Shuang brought Qin Yun and flew for 3 days. They passed through many mountains and arrived at an endless mountain range. This mountain was rather desolate. There were many beasts, but there weren't any strong races. There was a teleportation formation hidden here. Luo Shuang had a disc in her hand that could guide her to a mountain. The teleportation formation was at the bottom of this mountain. There's no need to inspect me now, but after teleporting to that palace, they will need to inspect me in various ways, including my storage magic treasure. Luo Shuang said, I must quietly enter the 9 Yang Divine Palace and not be discovered. Qin Yun also found it funny. The 9 Yang Divine Palace was clearly created by him but now he had to sneak back. This is very difficult. We must think of a way. Otherwise, we won't be able to sneak in. Luo Shuang frowned. She thought for a long time, but still couldn't think of a way for Qin Yun to sneak in. This is very simple. I'll give you a storage divine tool that can store people. I'll just hide in that storage divine tool. Qin Yun said with a smile. I'm just afraid of being found out. Luo Shuang is still somewhat worried. Don't worry, if I hide, nothing will be able to sense me. Qin Yun is very confident about this. Even that Red Lotus Saint Venerable was helpless against him and could only barely see him. Luo Shuang can only agree. Then, she once again told Qin Yun many details about heading to the Nine Yang Divine Palace. There are a total of 20 underground palaces that are inspected, and each one receives a different person. A high-ranking person like Luo Shuang is teleported to the first underground palace. The ones in charge of the inspection are the Inscription Palace and the Inscription Gate. The process is very strict, especially after a traitor appeared in the upper echelons of the Nine Yang Divine Palace. Even the upper echelons need to undergo this kind of strict inspection. This is something that everyone agreed on. After understanding it clearly, Qin Yun entered the storage divine artifact and hid himself. Luo Shuang's heart is filled with apprehension. She activated the teleportation formation and teleported to the first palace. The ones in charge of inspecting her are all women. Although they are very respectful to Luo Shuang, they are still very careful when inspecting her. They won't let go of any procedures. After a series of inspections and confirming that Luo Shuang didn't bring anyone else in, she was allowed to enter another teleportation room. Luo Shuang was teleported in this teleportation room. After several teleportations, she finally arrived at the Nine Heavens Island. The process was very smooth. Even Luo Shuang felt that those inspections were unnecessary. She actually managed to bring Qin Yun in. Of course, this is also because Qin Yun's own ability is extremely strong. If it was anyone else, it would definitely not be possible. During the inspection, many tools were used to probe her storage divine tool. After confirming that there are no living beings inside, they also carried out a space isolation inspection. All kinds of inspection methods are very clever. It is obvious that it is an inspection method created by an Wukong and the Space God. After returning to the Nine Heavens Island, Luo Shuang immediately went to the Nine Yang Divine Palace. The magnificent and majestic Nine Yang Divine Palace is located in the center of the Nine Heavens Island. After Luo Shuang returned, she directly went to find Bai Si and the little palace spirit according to Qin Yun's instructions. They are the great elders of the Nine Yang Divine Palace, and the two of them can be considered as one. Luo Shuang told everyone the reason why she came back directly. She said that she is the goddess of the Nine Heavens and was closely watched by the descendants of the Divine Sun sect. They also asked about Su Wancho's whereabouts. Luo Shuang said that she was sent to a secret underground palace and that Xie Wufeng was in charge of it. She didn't know. Su Wancho is still in Qin Yun's storage divine tool, sleeping all day. The little palace spirit is in a hall. She is pouring tea for Luo Shuang. She is still as lively as ever. Her cute face is filled with a sweet smile. Sister Luo Shuang, this operation is too smooth. I was worried for a long time. The little palace spirit is very happy to see Luo Shuang return safely. Chapter 34:11. Bai Si is also at the side. She has the same appearance as the young palace spirit, but she is more mature. She looked at Luo Shuang with a serious expression. Although the operation is going smoothly, taking down Great Divine Court's Heaven City is not a wise move. What is Elder Xie's plan? Bai Si is very confused about this matter. Because with Nine Yang Divine Palace's power, they can't defend Great Divine Court's Heaven City. Even with Barbarian race, they might not be able to defend. There are many details that have not been sent back because there is a spy here. Luo Shuang also said very seriously, I hope Great Elder can understand, but don't worry, we will definitely defend Great Divine Court's Heaven City. All right. It seems like the spy is still in Nine Yang Divine Palace. Bai Si nodded. Luo Shuang looked around and said in low voice, "Is this place top secret?" The young palace spirit's face also became serious. "Don't worry. In the entire Nine Yang Divine Palace, the place where I am is the most secure. The door of this hall is already closed. Moreover, there are many runes and barriers on the walls. Many light screens appear to isolate them." Luo Shuang took out a jade pendant. It is a storage divine tool. The jade pendant flashed, and a person suddenly appeared. Qin Yun came out of the storage divine tool. Seeing Luo Shuang release a person from the storage divine tool, the young palace spirit and Bai Si's first reaction was to be vigilant and prepare to attack. But then they saw that this person is the person they were worried about, Qin Yun, Big Brother Palace King. The young palace spirit very excitedly shouted and threw herself into Qin Yun's arms. Qin Yun hugged the young palace spirit, smiled and pinched her cheeks, then patted the teary eyes of Bai Si. "I'm back. It has been hard on you all these years." Qin Yun gently smiled. Not hard at all." Bai Si suddenly understood why Xia Wufeng and the others chose to defend Great Divine Court's Heaven City. He also understood how Xia Wufeng easily came out of the southern prison. "Because Qin Yun is back," Luo Shuang said. "Great Elder, Divine King came back to find the spy. I hope you all can cooperate and investigate." "All right, let's start now." Bai Si immediately agreed. After that, Qin Yun could only carefully inspect White Death and the little hall spirit's souls to make sure that there were no problems. Little Sister Bai, Little Palace Spirit, when Boss Xie brought Su Wancho back to the Nine Yang Divine Palace, how many people knew about it? "Give me a list." Qin Yun said, "This information should be top secret." How many upper echelons participated in the meeting back then? White Death and the Little Palace Spirit looked at each other and immediately understood that Qin Yun was using this information to lure out a group of Divine Sun descendants. At the same time, he wanted to investigate the Nine Yang Divine Palace. However, they didn't know Qin Yun's intentions back then. So when they learned that Xia Wufeng was going to return, they gathered many upper echelons to discuss how to escort Xia Wufeng back. In the end, they did not contact Xia Wufeng. However, everyone knew that Xia Wufeng had brought Su Wancho back to the city. Most of the upper echelons know about it. Oh right, those people from the Divine Inscription Mountain don't know about it. They weren't present at that time. White Death said, "Looks like this investigation will take some time." Qin Yun sighed. Soon after, the Little Palace Spirit and White Death gave Qin Yun a list of names. These were the people who first knew that Xia Wufeng and Su Wancho were going to leave the city. The people who received the news from the Great Divine Court's Heaven City were White Death and the Little Palace Spirit. However, Qin Yun was afraid that the news wouldn't spread, so he asked Xiao Qihong to pass the news to many upper echelons. Therefore, everyone knew Xia Wufeng's route back to the city, which was why Red Lotus Saint Venerable was chasing after him. When Qin Yun told them about what happened, the Little Palace Spirit and Luo Shuang were shocked. They never expected that the Divine Sun descendants would send out Red Lotus Saint Venerable. Red Lotus Saint Venerable's fame is very frightening. When Luo Shuang brought Qin Yun back and found out what happened, she was also shocked. She never expected that Qin Yun would be able to defeat Red Lotus Saint Venerable. This kind of strength is indeed very frightening, which made them feel even more at ease. Qin Yun also asked the Little Palace Spirit and White Death who they suspected, but they couldn't say for sure. If they suspected someone, then everyone would be suspicious, especially the upper echelons of the Nine Yang Divine Palace. At this moment, the Little Palace Spirit closed her eyes and said in a low voice, "Big Brother Palace King, Nine Heaven Island Master is outside. Divine Palace Great Elder, Nine Heaven Island Master requests an audience." Then, Nine Heaven Island Master's voice also came in. Qin Yun nodded and gestured for Nine Heaven Island Master to come in. The Little Palace Spirit opened the barrier and at the same time opened the door. And Qin Yun immediately turned invisible. After Nine Heaven Island Master came in, he saw Luo Shuang and nodded to her. Nine Heaven Island Master wore white clothes. Although he's an old man, he is very spirited. He has a kind expression, but his eyes flashed with a sharp light. Then, his expression gradually became serious. Island Master, what's the matter? Luo Shuang asked. Someone snuck in. Nine Heaven Island Master said solemnly, not long ago. The invisible Qin Yun was not discovered by Nine Heaven Island Master, but he was very surprised that Nine Heaven Island Master knew that someone snuck in. The teleportation process is very strict and complicated. How could someone sneak in? Luo Shuang pretended to be surprised. I also don't know. Just now, Nine Heaven Spatial Law Spirit told me that there is suddenly one more person in this space, and he is in the Nine Yang Divine Palace. Nine Heaven Island Master looked at Luo Shuang and said, You just came back, right? After so many years, this is the first time someone snuck in. Therefore, even Bai Si and the little palace spirit did not know that Nine Heaven Spatial Law Spirit could sense it. Qin Yun is also very surprised. After thinking about it carefully, it is not strange. After all, this space's law spirit can sense what is stored in the space. Nine Heaven Spatial Law Spirit would know if there is an extra baby or something. Moreover, this is in accordance with the laws of nature. But suddenly there is an extra person. This is not normal. Moreover, it is in the Nine Yang Divine Palace. Qin Yun immediately appeared and said with a smile, Island Master, long time no see. You have improved very quickly. It seems that your understanding of the origin realm is very deep. Nine Heaven Island Master saw Qin Yun and immediately understood what is going on. The person who snuck in is actually Qin Yun. Nine Heavens Island Lord did not find it odd that Qin Yun had returned secretly. The Divine King is as powerful as ever. Nine Heavens Island Lord had secretly tried to see through Qin Yun's cultivation level, but to no avail. However, the fact that Qin Yun can hide without being discovered means that his strength is definitely not weak. As for what realm, Nine Heaven Island Master is also very curious. The suspicion of Nine Heaven Island Master being a traitor is not big because he is after all the Nine Heaven Island Master. He is responsible for the affairs of this island. He does not participate in many of the Nine Yang Divine Palace's meetings. However, he also knows that the Nine Yang Divine Palace has an inner sect. Moreover, he took the initiative to let his soul be examined to eliminate suspicion. Chapter 34:12. Although the Divine Judge had lost the Divine Court of the Myriad Worlds, he had set up the Pantheon in the Nine Yang Divine Palace. The Divine Judge was now in charge of the Pantheon. Qin Yun didn't spend much time with the Divine Preceptor. He had always trusted her. After all, they had been through a lot together. If the Chief Divine Judge really betrayed them, Qin Yun could not think of a motive. Because he is in charge of the all-divine palaces, there are a large number of divine position gods in the palace. This is a very strong force, so the Divine Judge has a very high position in the Nine Yang Divine Palace. Heavenly Law Spirit Tao. If there was anyone who had the best relationship with the Divine Judge, it would be the Sword God, Xia Wufeng. The reason why the Divine Judge had such a high position in the Nine Yang Divine Palace was mainly because of Xia Wufeng, and he had obtained Xia Wufeng's trust. Xia Wufeng had never doubted the Grand Inquisitor. If Xia Wufeng's capture was caused by the Grand Inquisitor, would the Grand Inquisitor really be so heartless? Seeing Qin Yun in deep thought, the heavenly Tao Dharma Spirit said again, Maybe I'm wrong. You won't know until you check it, will you? You've checked his soul. Is it no problem? Qin Yun asked. With your abilities, you should have discovered the anomaly, right? The heavenly law Fa Ling shook his head and said, I really didn't discover anything. This isn't the first or second time that we've checked each other's souls. In order to find out who the traitor is, everyone is very proactive and cooperates with each other. Where did you get this feeling? Qin Yun knew that the heavenly Tao Dharma Spirit would not have such a feeling for no reason. Ever since the first time everyone signed the soul contract, and there was a traitor, the Black Flame sect was formed. At that time, we examined each other's souls. I examined the soul of the Divine Judge, and I had an indescribable feeling. The heavenly law Fa Spirit recalled the scene at that time. Did you tell anyone else? Qin Yun asked. No, you can't talk nonsense without evidence. What if it's not true? The heavenly law, Fa Ling sighed. I only have this feeling. There is no evidence to prove it. Call him over. I'll hide in the dark, said Qin Yun. The natural law, Fa Ling nodded, then immediately sent someone to contact the divine judge, saying that there was something important to discuss. Qin Yun has already concealed himself. In order to not be discovered, he hid even deeper. The heavenly Tao law spirit looked all around because he could not find Qin Yun at all. He released his mental power to sweep the area a few times, but he could not sense Qin Yun's existence. After learning that there was something important to discuss, the chief divine judge quickly rushed over. The Grand Inquisitor now looked like a middle-aged man. His appearance changed frequently. At first, he was an old man. Then, he became a young man. Now, he was a middle-aged man. However, the outline of his face and his temperament had never changed. Elder of Heavenly Palace, is there anything important? The divine judge laughed heartily. It's about the great divine court's Heaven City. Little Xie is really something. Even under such circumstances, he still wants to take down the great divine court's Heaven City. Isn't this all for you? The heavenly law spirit laughed. The higher-ups of the Nine Yang Divine Palace all knew that Xie Wufeng had already taken control of the city, and they all thought that Xie Wufeng was doing it for the sake of the divine judge. Back in the divine court of myriad worlds, the divine judge and Xie Wufeng had worked together, and the divine judge had once been injured and almost died trying to save Xie Wufeng. Their relationship can be said to be very deep. It even has the feeling of a father and son. Next, the heavenly law spirit pretended to chat with the divine judge about the city. They discussed how to defend the city and whether to quickly give up so that they don't get dragged into the quagmire. Qin Yun is hiding in the dark. He doesn't need to check the divine judge's soul. From a moment he saw the divine judge, he concluded that the divine judge in front of him is not the same one from back then. He also understands why the heavenly law spirit has this kind of indescribable feeling. Qin Yun understands souls the most. He knows what kind of situation this is. The divine judge's soul is not a normal soul. It is not even a naturally formed soul. It is a kind of artificial, created, fake soul. Qin Yun's research on souls is very deep. He knows that this kind of soul fluctuation has very minute differences. Even people with extremely strong mental power might not be able to sense it. The divine judge did not betray the great divine court. Rather, his soul was replaced. This technique is very brilliant. This kind of brilliant technique caused Qin Yun's scalp to go numb. Sword Elder also said before that there are traitors in the upper echelons of the barbarian race, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find them. What shocked Qin Yun the most is that this kind of soul can actually form a soul contract. Moreover, after being branded with a contract imprint, there will be no backlash from the contract. Therefore, it is impossible to use a soul contract to restrict this kind of thing. The divine judge's body is real, but his soul has been copied and replaced. That is why he has the divine judge's memories and can replace the divine judge to hide in the Nine Yang Divine Palace. The souls of the divine sun descendants are very strong, and they should have very deep research on souls. However, Qin Yun believes that they don't have this kind of technique. Previously, Xie Wufeng and many others were imprisoned in the southern prison. If the divine sun descendants had a powerful soul technique, they would definitely be able to discover something from Xie Wufeng and other souls. Or perhaps they could use this kind of technique to replace Xie Wufeng and other souls. Qin Yun is sure that Xie Wufeng's soul has not been replaced. Maybe if they continue to be imprisoned in that place, they might be replaced in the future. It's not the method of the divine sun descendants, but what if there is external help? Maybe the divine sun descendants learned it from somewhere. Qin Yun recalled the mysterious power that sealed the divine moon of the heavens. On the surface, everyone thinks that they are the descendants of the divine sun, but in fact, they are not. Qin Yun secretly transmitted his voice to the heavenly law spirit, telling it to cooperate later. The heavenly law spirit is astonished. Qin Yun's words mean that he is certain that there is a problem with the divine judge. The divine judge really betrayed them? Although the heavenly law spirit had his suspicions before, it was all based on his intuition. Now that he has confirmed it, he is somewhat unable to accept it. Qin Yun has already arrived behind the divine judge, but the divine judge did not sense it. When Qin Yun extended his hand, the divine judge already sensed something and is very astonished. Qin Yun wanted to extend his hand to press down on the divine judge's head, but a bloody hole suddenly appeared on the divine judge's head. A large amount of blood gushed out, accompanied by that strange soul. "This is bad," Qin Yun immediately told me, to use her mental power. He wants to borrow me, power. The soul inside the divine judge's body very anxiously rushed out, causing it to directly burst out of his head. The most dreadful thing is that this soul split into thousands of parts, turned into small bald heads, and shot out in all directions. Their speed is very fast. After this kind of soul split, it still has very strong penetrating power. It can pass through and leave the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. If the soul escapes, the news of this place will be transmitted to the Divine Sun descendants, and they will probably guess that Qin Yun has returned. After borrowing me mental power, Qin Yun used his formidable mental power to form a barrier that enveloped the entire heavenly palace, sealing the path of those soul fragments. Chapter 34:14. Qin Yun originally thought that the ghoul race had only returned and did not make any big movements. However, he could sense the fluctuations of the ghoul race's soul from the powerful soul. He couldn't be sure if there was a connection, so he had to confirm it. He wanted to confirm whether the ghoul race was a hidden danger. If they were, then he would have to find a way to restrain them. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to deal with the terrifying power of the ghoul race if they were to stir up trouble in the divine desolate. Luo Shuang, if your father can take care of the Nine Heavens Lost Spirit, tell him to find out more about the ghoul race. I want to know the relationship between the descendants of the Divine Sun God and the ghoul race. Qin Yun exhorted. Got it. Luo Shuang nodded. Qin Yun then went to find the heavenly Dao Law Spirit and instructed him on some matters. Then he left the Nine-Yang Divine Palace in a hurry. When he left, Long Shu chased after him. Long Shu was now an elder of the Dragon Hall. Most of the main forces of the powerful All Heavens Dragon race behind her were on Nine Heavens Island. There were also many branches of the dragon race outside that were loyal to her, the All Heavens Dragon Emperor. Yun, are you really in a hurry to leave? Long Shu's eyes were filled with affection and a trace of bitterness, making the usually domineering female Dragon Empress appear especially charming and moving. Long Shu is Qin Yun's woman. For so many years, every time she thought of Qin Yun being trapped there, she would feel very sad. When she saw Qin Yun previously, it was also because there were too many upper echelons of the Nine-Yang Divine Palace present that she had no choice but to suppress her excitement. Of course not. Qin Yun laughed, then embraced Long Shu and caressed her long brown wavy hair. I have something to tell you, and something very important to give you. Long Shu smiled lightly, then said solemnly, Let's go to a secret place. Qin Yun brought Long Shu to a spacious and empty area on Nine Heavens Island and released the Nine Sun Heaven Raising Pagoda. After entering the Nine Suns Sky Raising Pagoda, Qin Yun was not in a hurry to ask what was going on. Instead, he got intimate with Long Shu first. While putting on her clothes, Long Shu said, Nine-Yang Dharma Spirit once sent someone to look for me. Nine-Yang Dharma Spirit? Or someone from the universe beyond heavens? Qin Yun asked. The Nine-Yang Dharma Spirit was the Nine-Yang Dharma Spirit, while the cosmos beyond man was the cosmos beyond man. Qin Yun had to confirm it. He said he was sent by the Nine-Yang Dharma Spirit. It should be that the Nine-Yang Law Spirit told that person before it fused with the universe Law Spirit. Long Shu tidied up her wavy brown hair. That person said that only you are allowed to know about this matter. You are not allowed to tell anyone else, especially the Nine Sun Divine Maiden. You cannot tell them. Qin nodded and said, I won't tell them, tell them. Long Shu took out a black square box, handed it to Qin, and said, Nine Sun Law Spirit gave it to you. I can't open it. Qin took it and looked at it. He was actually unable to open it. Furthermore, his heavenly, I was unable to penetrate it. His powerful mental power was also isolated outside. What else did he tell you? Qin asked. Did that person say where he is? Long Shu shook her head and said, That person said that if you open this box, you will know how to find him. He instructed me not to let anyone else know about your meeting with him, as well as this box, and even more so, not to let the 9 Yang Divine Maiden know. When did this happen? Qin asked again. You've been trapped here for about 100 years. Long Shu said. Qin had been trapped in the heart of the universe for hundreds of years. At that time, he was still sleeping and cultivating. Did he say how to open it? Qin fiddled with the box again, but he still had no idea how to open it. He said that only by opening the box will you have enough power to find him. Otherwise, you won't be able to find him. Long Shu smiled and said, Don't worry, take your time. Anyway, he didn't say when you should go find him. Qin kept the box, hugged Long Shu, and kissed her. Then, they walked out of the 9 Sun Sky Raising Pagoda and said goodbye to each other. The process of leaving the 9 Heaven space was also very complicated. He had to go through many teleportations to get out. Even he didn't know where the spatial entrance was hidden. Qin flew towards the 9 Sun Holy Land while holding the black box and looking at it carefully. What the hell is this thing? With my current strength, I can't even open a box. What the hell? Qin was currently in the transcendent realm. Just now, he used an extremely strong power to forcefully open the box, but he still failed. The box was relatively small and could be placed on the palm of his hand. Why did that person give the box to Long Shu? Why not someone else? Qin had also asked Long Shu this question before. Long Shu said that she was also very puzzled at that time. However, that person only said that she was the most suitable candidate. Long Shu had once fused with bloodline Heavenly Rune. Qin recalled this matter. Long Shu was a tree dragon. She evolved to become very strong because she came into contact with bloodline Heavenly Rune. Could it be that I have to use the power of bloodline Heavenly Rune to open it? Qin immediately took out the Divine King Heavenly Seal. After exploring it for the past few days, the Divine King Heavenly Seal would not be corroded by the law power here. However, there were some divine tools that could not resist the law power. If he took it out, as long as he did not have enough time to protect it, it might be corroded. He used the Divine King Heavenly Seal to seal the box. The black box immediately turned golden. As expected, Qin immediately landed on the ground and patiently waited for the box to complete its transformation. Not long after, the box turned into a golden crystal. This should be considered as opening the box. Qin, ha ha ha, are you surprised? The golden crystal actually transmitted the 9 Sun Law Spirit's voice. Are you the 9 Sun Law Spirit? Or a cosmos beyond heaven person? Qin said in shock. Of course I am the 9 Sun Law Spirit. Cosmos beyond heaven person? The one who fused with the universe law spirit is my most outstanding avatar. 9 Sun Law Spirit laughed loudly and said, Universe Law Spirit, that idiot, he actually did not sense it. Qin is completely shocked. 9 Sun Law Spirit actually used an avatar to fuse with the Universe Law Spirit. This way, wouldn't he be able to obtain many of the Universe Law Spirit secrets? No wonder he could not let 9 Sun Divine Maiden know about this. Because if they knew about this, they would definitely think of a way to find the 9 Sun Law Spirit's true body. You, where are you? Qin took a deep breath and asked, I am now the great Earth Law Spirit of myriad heavens, divine desolate. 9 Sun Law Spirit said with smile, My strongest soul and body have already been tied up with this great Earth. I used this great Earth as an energy-gathering formation and absorbed energy from the 9 myriad realms' divine suns to cultivate my soul and body. Qin thought for a bit and immediately prostrated himself in admiration of Nine Sun Lost Spirit's amazing operation. Do you worship me? Do you have the urge to bow down and worship me? Nine Sun Lost Spirit very smugly laughed and said, Qinyan, let me tell you, the most awesome thing about me is that the universe lost spirit is several generations older than me. He is more outstanding than me in all aspects, but in the end, didn't I still get on top of him? Ha ha! Qin Yun's mind is immediately filled with question marks. Chapter 34:15. Qin Yun is very speechless. Although this is not the first time he has seen Nine Sun Lost Spirit's prodigy, this time it still made him go crazy. Are you really Nine Sun Lost Spirit? Qin Yun is still filled with doubt. Of course I am. After my most outstanding avatar fused with the universe lost spirit, it caused my true body to be affected. Nine Sun Lost Spirit said, the memories my avatar obtained from the universe lost spirit are fragmented. Most of the memories were not transmitted back. Moreover, they are very important. I must take them back. That's very simple. Can't you just directly go to the ancient desolate? Qin Yun said, No, I can't let the universe lost spirit know about this. Otherwise he will perish together with me. Nine Sun Lost Spirit said, for example, you have been a bootlicker for many years and finally managed to get a girl after untold hardships. But after you have been in love with each other for many years, you found out that this girl is just an avatar. Moreover, she deliberately obtained information from you. What would you do? Qin Yun curled his lips. Nine Sun Lost Spirit's analogy makes him speechless. You two old guys, don't talk about love. It makes people's scalp go numb. Qin Yun can only roll his eyes. Us lost spirits are not like you humans who have a specific gender. We just need to admire each other and fuse together. Nine Sun Lost Spirit laughed loudly and said, you humans have a lot of love. Don't you also roll in bed? This is more or less the same as you. You said that your avatar's memories are very important? How important? Qin Yun asked. I obtained a lot of important information from the universe lost spirit. It is very important to our divine desolate and myriad realms divine sun. Nine Sun Lost Spirit's voice gradually became serious. Qin Yun looked at the square crystal in his hand and listened to Nine Sun Lost Spirit's voice. He can't help but think of Xian Qingning. Previously, Universe Beyond Heaven gave all the most important inheritance to Xian Qingning. Is it all with Xian Qingning? Qin Yun asked. Yes. The Nine Yang Lost Spirit said, that clone of mine knows that it's impossible to transmit all the information back to my main body. Moreover, I can't do that because it's very easy for the other half of the universe's lost spirit to detect it. So, he thought of a way to convince the other half of the universe's lost spirit to transmit these important inheritances to Xian Qingning. Wait a minute. The Empyrean Beyond is the fusion of your clone and the universe's magical spirit. Aren't they one entity? Their thoughts should be the same. Qin Yun is very curious about heaven's beyond universe's state. They are not completely one. They would have two consciousnesses. It was like when you decided to do something, there would be two consciousnesses discussing a decision together. Only after reaching an agreement would you do it. If they couldn't reach an agreement, they wouldn't act. Of course, this process is very fast. The Nine Yang Dermic Spirit Way. I see. Qin Yun finally understood and asked again, then can the people from beyond universe maintain such a state for a long time? Of course not. This is a transitional period. When they completely fused, a new soul would be born together. The new soul would inherit the inheritance and memories of both sides. After the new soul is born, it would devour the souls of the two old ones to become stronger. Nine Yang Lost Spirits said. At that time, wouldn't they know about your clone's secret? Qin Yun said with smile. Will that newly born heavens beyond universe come and fight you to the death? I don't know, we'll see what he decides at that time. Because that is the new heavens beyond universe. The universe's magical spirit no longer exists. Nine Yang Lost Spirit is also not sure. I will go find Xian Qingning, but not now. Qin Yun said, I want to go to Nine Sun's sacred land to find a human ghost race. Human ghost race? Why are you going to find these guys? Nine Yang Law Spirit anxiously shouted in alarm. These guys are very scary. Is that so? I am friends with their human ghost emperor. When Qin Yun heard Nine Yang Law Spirit's voice, he is secretly alarmed. He did not expect the human ghost race to be so powerful. The current human ghost race is very mysterious, and the power behind them is what I have always been searching for. Nine Yang Law Spirit said, barbarian race, primordial humans, new humans all have the shadow of the human ghost race. Wait a minute. These races are all created by the universe's magical spirit, right? Qin Yun said in alarm. That's right. But the universe's magical spirit also borrowed external power. It is the human ghost race that provided them with help. Nine Yang Law Spirit retorted. Why do you want to find the human ghost race? Is it very urgent? Qin Yun is hesitating whether or not he should tell Nine Yang Law Spirit about the traitor in Nine Sun Divine Palace. After all, he is still not sure whether Nine Yang Law Spirit will act recklessly or not. It's like this. I've fought with a guy before. His soul has the characteristics of the human ghost race's soul. Qin Yun only vaguely said it. You go save Xian Qingning first. She must know a lot about the human ghost race. The Divine Sun descendants and the human ghost race have a very deep cooperation. If we want to dig out the reason for their cooperation or who ordered them, we will have to understand more about this world. Nine Yang Law Spirit said. What do you mean? Qin Yun has always felt that there is a mysterious, transcendental power that seems to be controlling the Divine Sun descendants. Although myriad heavens divine desolate, and the 9 myriad realms divine suns are independent, they're being targeted by a powerful power that wants to swallow us up. Nine Yang Law Spirit said, I also don't know what exactly is going on. In short, with the power of the Divine Sun descendants, they're still unable to seal the 9 myriad heavens' divine moons. All right, I will go find Xian Qingning now. She should be in that supreme Xian pavilion. Qin Yun obtained the information from Luo Shuang. She has already been transferred away. Now she is in the depths of Nine Sun Holy Land. Fortunately, she has a protective magic tool given to her by the universe's beyond heavens. Those guys won't be able to touch her for a period of time. They can only seal her or imprison her. Nine Yang Law Spirit said, Can you lead the way? Can you keep in contact with me? Qin Yun continued flying towards Nine Sun Holy Land. Of course I can. Without me accompanying you, you can't save her. You are now going deep into the enemy's lair. You will have to face many terrifying people. Nine Yang Law Spirit said, As long as you rescue Xian Qingning and give me the inherited memories I want, she will be yours. You can use her however you want. Rotten old man, I'm not as bad as you. Qin Yun snorted. The universe's lost spirit has already become a universe's beyond heavens. His 9 heavens goddesses are all yours. Why are you being so polite? Nine Yang Law Spirit chuckled and said, Are my 9 heavens goddesses also yours? Oh right, they're my daughters. You should call me father-in-law. Why are you calling me rotten old man? It is too rude. Damn old man. Go drink the water I wash my feet with. Qin Yun cursed with a smile, then sped up and flew towards Nine Sun Holy Land. Chapter 34:17. According to what Qin Yun learned from Luo Shuang, Saint Venerable Red Lotus was an old guy who often ran around the god Desolate. Among the descendants of the Divine Sun God, the strongest were those old fellows whose cultivation had reached the universe mind state. However, they were always out and about, and there were not many famous ones. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was the most famous one, and he was very popular. On one hand, it was because of his cool and handsome appearance that he was very popular with women. On the other hand, he wasn't too high and mighty. It should be known that among the Godson descendants, those old guys with the universe mind realm were very arrogant. Compared to them, Saint Venerable Red Lotus was very amiable. This guy often runs around outside. His sudden appearance in Fengyang City should be because of Xian Qingning, right? Qin Yin could only quicken his pace. He had to rescue Xian Qingning as soon as possible. Xian Qingning was now the same as Su Wanqiu. They were both very important to the godson descendants. Since Su Wanqiu had run away, they had to keep an eye on Xian Qingning. No one knew that Qin Yin was looking for Xian Qingning, who was also the Nine Sons' lost spirit, so there was no leak. Qin Yin had only told Luo Shuang that he was going to the Nine Sons' sacred ground when he was in the Nine Sons' sacred palace. He didn't say that he was going to save Xian Qingning. Therefore, Saint Venerable Red Lotus's sudden appearance was probably not because of a traitor, but because Xian Qingning was very important. Since that was the case, Qin Yin was even more curious about the important inheritance that Xian Qingning possessed. The center of Fengyang City was not the city lord's mansion, but a huge palace. The palace's main door was tightly shut. Only a small door was open, and there was no one guarding the entrance. What puzzled Qin Yin the most was that not only was there no one guarding the entrance, there wasn't even a barrier protecting the palace. There were several spacious streets outside the palace with many people coming and going. However, no one approached the palace. It was clear that the people in the city were very conscious of staying away from it. This meant that the palace was very frightening, so no one dared to approach it. Qin Yin blended in with the pedestrians and carefully observed the palace as he walked on the streets. The palace was made of golden red, luminous material. It shone with golden red light, and the entire palace was dazzling and magnificent. Qin Yin had seen many similar dazzling buildings. He had seen many buildings that were much bigger and taller than this palace. However, the palace before him gave him an indescribable feeling. He had a very strong intuition that this palace was extremely dangerous. Secondly, there was some kind of terrifying energy hidden inside. Now that he was here, he didn't even dare to take out the four-sided crystal that he used to communicate with the Nine-Yang Law spirit. He was afraid that the mysterious power would sense it. Saint Venerable Red Lotus had just entered this palace. Everyone had waited for him to enter the palace before getting up from the ground. Qin Yin has been pacing back and forth outside the palace, probing and sensing the situation inside. He doesn't dare to rashly enter, fearing that he would alarm the people inside and cause Xian Qingning to be teleported away. The descendants of the godson god also had control over the teleportation array. If there was a teleportation array in the palace, they would be able to quickly teleport Xian Qingning away. At that time, they would have to travel a long way to find Xian Qingning. When it was close to evening, a large group of golden-armored people suddenly appeared on the wide road leading from the east gate to the central palace. They were the heavenly venerable army of the descendants of the divine sun god. They lined on the street. Tions, chins, and of many. Lining on dragons all. Of Tion with looked on Saint Dragon. The entire street was cleared out. No one dared to enter. Everyone could see that this kind of formation was definitely to welcome a very important person. Red Lotus Saint Venerable Red Lotus had only flown through the air, but there was no such pomp. This meant that the person who came had a higher status than Red Lotus Saint Venerable Red Lotus. Qin Yin and many people stood on the street and looked at the city gate. They wanted to see who had come for such a grand occasion. The door of the palace in the middle suddenly opened. At that moment, a strong light shone from the city gate. A large carriage slowly drove over. They could have flown over, so why did they walk through this street? Qin Yin thought to himself. Many people had the same idea as him. Since they wanted to be so high profile, it meant that they were sending some kind of signal. The Divine Sun's descendants still did not take the Nine-Yang Divine Palace seriously. This meant that they were not sending a signal to the Nine-Yang Divine Palace. Then, they might be sending a signal to the Barbarian Emperor. After the luxurious carriage entered the city, the huge doors and windows of the carriage suddenly opened. A golden-robed woman with a noble aura could be seen sitting in the city. The woman was dressed luxuriously. Her entire body was golden and dazzling. Her expression was ice-cold, and her eyes were filled with might. Although her body was somewhat bloated, she had an extremely powerful aura, especially her cold eyes. When they swept over with killing intent, It caused people to feel a chill down their spines. We respectfully welcome the myriad realms' heavenly mother. The mighty warriors on both sides of the road suddenly knelt down in unison. Their voices resounded through the world as they shouted in unison. Immediately, the vast and mighty aura shook the horizon. The mighty myriad realms' heavenly mother suddenly retracted her aura and elegantly stood up from her seat. She said indifferently, "Dispense with the formalities." It was also at this moment that Saint Venerable Red Lotus stepped on a beautiful red lotus and slowly walked over from the road. The myriad realms' heavenly mother's carriage stopped, and Saint Venerable Red Lotus knelt in front of the carriage. We pay our respects to the heavenly mother. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was filled with reverence as he knelt on the ground. The people on both sides of the road were shocked because they had never heard of the myriad realms' heavenly mother. However, they knew about Saint Venerable Red Lotus. Even Saint Venerable Red Lotus revered her. Her status could be imagined. Qin Yin also secretly probed the power of the myriad realms' heavenly mother, but he didn't see anything. He had fought with Saint Venerable Red Lotus before. That was indeed a very powerful universe heart realm. If it was stronger than Saint Venerable Red Lotus, then the person who could make Saint Venerable Red Lotus kneel naturally had strength far above Saint Venerable Red Lotus. Red Lotus, I am very disappointed in you. The myriad realms' heavenly mother sighed and gently waved her hand. Get up. Let's talk inside. Yes. Saint Venerable Red Lotus's body trembled just now. It was clear that he was afraid. Soon after, the carriage slowly drove into the huge palace's wide open door. After entering, the door closed tightly, and Saint Venerable Red Lotus entered through the small door after the main door was closed. Only the myriad realms' heavenly mother could enter through the main door. Everyone else could only enter through the small door. Qin Yin had no choice but to pass on his discovery to the Nine-Yang Law Spirit. After the Nine-Yang Law Spirit heard it, he said, "Little Qin, you have to quickly go in to prevent any changes. What is the origin of the myriad realms' heavenly mother?" Qin Yin asked. "It must be a core expert among the descendants of the divine sun." The Nine-Yang Law Spirit said, "I am truly ashamed. I don't know much about these bullshit evil insects. To think that you are the Nine-Yang Law Spirit. Don't you know anything about your 9 myriad realms, divine, sun, evil insects?" Qin Yin said disdainfully, "A bunch of insects crawled on your body and you only wanted to kill them. Do you even know what their names are and what their status is in the insect nest?" The Nine-Yang Law Spirit urged, "Quickly go in and save Xian Qingning. That woman is obviously here to deal with Xian Qingning." Chapter 34:18. Qin Yin sneaked into an empty room of a hotel and looked at the palace through the window. He also wants to save Xian Qingning as soon as possible. However, he doesn't know the situation inside the palace. If he rashly rushes in, he might be trapped inside. All right, it's best if you don't contact me in this place, so that those guys don't find anything. Nine-Yang Law Spirit said, "Those guys are not as stupid as we thought." Qin Yin secretly curled his lips. He has never looked down on Divine Sun descendants. Previously, Divine Sun descendants planted traitors in Nine-Yang Divine Palace and even captured Xia Wufeng. This move was very brilliant. If Qin Yin did not return, it would be very difficult to save Xia Wufeng. And Nine-Yang Divine Palace might have lost many people. Got it, Qin Yin said. What do you think about that myriad realm's heavenly mother? Can I beat her? I don't know. Whether or not you can beat her, you will know after you fight her. Nine-Yang Law Spirit said with smile. If you can't beat her, think of a way to seduce her. Don't think that this is some kind of despicable method. I often use this method. You see, I can't beat the Universe Law Spirit, but I seduce him, tempt him, attract him, and fused with him. Seduce the myriad realms' heavenly mother? I can't do it, Qin Yin said unhappily. I say, big brother, can't you be a bit more serious? Xian Qingning is very important to you. You have to show me the way. Do you think she is not pretty? Covering her head, is the same. Nanyang Law Spirit said, with mischievous smile, it doesn't look like he wants to seriously discuss how to save Xian Qingning. Qin Yun finds it strange. Why is this Nanyang Law Spirit's true body so strange? Not serious at all. His mind is full of crooked tricks. Big Brother Law Spirit, I really want to save Xian Qingning. Qin Yun really wants to beat up Nanyang Law Spirit. Is still causing trouble at this time. Little Qin, do you remember I told you that I spent a lot of effort on your face? Nanyang Law Spirit said with smile. Of course. Qin Yun remembered. The Nanyang Dharma Spirit said that although his face was not extremely handsome, it had a peculiar charm, especially to women. Previously, the Nanyang Law Spirit had asked him to seduce the Phoenix Queen. In the end, he had succeeded, and his relationship with the Phoenix Queen was very good. As for whether or not the Phoenix Queen was interested in him, he had never tried to find out. He had not seen the Phoenix Queen since he came back this time, so he did not know how she was doing. He only knew that the Phoenix Queen was the goddess of the 9 heavens, and there was also the consciousness of the Phoenix ancestor in her soul. If she could merge with the Phoenix clan ancestor's consciousness, her strength would definitely rise to another level, and stepping into the universal heart realm would not be a problem. You want me to charge in and let the myriad worlds' heavenly mother see my face, and then seduce her? Although Qin Yun was somewhat narcissistic, he did not have the confidence to seduce the myriad world's celestial mother. Your face does have this kind of ability, but if you can't confuse the other party, it will have the opposite effect. That is, the other party will hate you very much and will hate you like a heartless scumbag. The Nanyang Law Spirit said with a smile. So, you have to be careful. If you don't think of a good way, I'll destroy this broken thing in my hand and then never contact you again. I'll save Xian Qingning myself, and you can forget about getting her memories. Qin Yun said very seriously. He was truly a bit angry. All right. Then wait patiently. I'll control the earth to shake a bit and distract them. Then you can take the opportunity to sneak in. The Nanyang Law Spirit said. That's right. Qin Yun snorted. Isn't it better to do this earlier? Right now, you're the one who is in a hurry to save Xian Qingning. Why do I see that you are not in a hurry at all? I gave you a good face for nothing. You actually want me to do it myself when it can be solved with my face. Do you know how much effort it takes for you to make an earthquake? The Nanyang Law Spirit muttered. Do you believe that I won't destroy this communication device right now? Qin Yun injected energy into it. With his strength, although he could not completely destroy it, it was still possible to cut off the communication. I'll start now. Prepare for the earthquake. You get ready. The Nanyang Law Spirit immediately said. Just as he finished speaking, the earth trembled slightly. The Nanyang Law Spirit is the great earth law spirit of divine desolate. He can indeed control the earthquake of a certain area by hiding underground. As for how strong it can be, Qin Yun still does not know. He hopes to destroy the palace. Qin Yun immediately came out of the hotel. Many people also ran out of the buildings because of the earthquake. Actually, the earthquakes in Divine Desolate are quite frequent. As for why there are earthquakes, it is still a mystery. Moreover, this kind of earthquake is impossible to predict. Sometimes the intensity of the earthquake is very low, just a slight tremor. But sometimes it is very violent. The earth will crack, the mountains will shake, it can destroy many huge mountains and buildings, it can even tear apart a huge city. Is that it? Qin Yun secretly contacted the Nanyang Law Spirit. Of course not. Just you wait, the big one is coming soon. The Nanyang Law Spirit said. Sure enough, not long after, the intensity of the earth's shaking suddenly increased. Many buildings in Fengyang City are shaking and have already begun to collapse. The Nanyang Law Spirit's power this time shook a very large area. It was not only aimed at Fengyang City, otherwise it would be too obvious. At this moment, a barrier suddenly appeared all around Fengyang City. Previously, this city did not have a barrier. Even the palace in the middle did not have a barrier protecting it. But now, after the barrier appeared, the entire city's shaking suddenly weakened. This barrier blocked the violent shaking coming from the ground. Has it been blocked by the barrier? Qin quickly asked the Nine-Yang Law spirit. This city is, after all, on a treasure land. There's a powerful energy supporting the barrier to resist the shaking from the earth. The Nine-Yang Law spirit said, I can only tear the earth apart now, but this will cause me to consume a lot of energy. Still not doing it. Do you still want to save Qingming? Qin hurriedly urged. The Nine-Yang Law spirit grumbled a bit, but could only do as he was told. Qin stealthily approached the palace. At the same time, the entire city let out a burst of exclamations because the earth suddenly split apart. Moreover, a lot of magma came out, and some places even spurted magma toward the sky. That's more like it. Qin can't help but praise. It consumed 20% of my energy. My heart hurts. The Nine-Yang Law spirit muttered in a low voice. Qin cursed a few times in his heart. Only 20% of energy? Can't even bear to use this little bit of energy? This is too stingy. He already entered the palace, and the palace is on the cracked earth, and now it is beginning to collapse. After entering the palace, Qin can sense Qingming's soul fluctuation. He immediately used mysterious penetration divine ability to rush over. Chapter 34:19. This enormous palace did not have a barrier protecting it. The ground suddenly split open, and even the majestic palace collapsed with a loud rumble. But in a secret chamber within the palace, the myriad realms' celestial mother only needed to release a bit of her power to support the collapsing fragments. Qin used the mysterious penetration divine ability and quickly arrived at the secret chamber. Qingming sat on a white jade chair. Her entire body seemed to be fixed in place, unable to move. Qingming's eyes were filled with a trace of fear, but her expression was ice-cold. The myriad realms' celestial mother gave her a great sense of oppression. The mental power that the myriad realms' celestial mother released at this moment was filled with a kind of evil aura. If one's strength was inferior to her, they would definitely be frightened. It was as if their soul had received an intense impact. Give me your soul. The myriad realms' celestial mother's voice came out, but her mouth did not move. This was the soul voice released by her soul. That terrifying soul-absorbing power made even Qin, who was beside her, feel fear. Qingming's body was trembling as fear spread through her body and mind. Her cold and arrogant attitude from before had disappeared. She tried her best to restrain herself and overcome the fear in her heart. Only by doing so would her soul not yield. Qin was very alarmed. The myriad realms' celestial mother wanted to devour Qingming's soul, and she was using a very special method. If she succeeded, she would indeed be able to quickly obtain the inheritance in Qingming's mind. Originally, Qin wanted to immediately rescue her, but now he had to be careful. Because the myriad realms' celestial mother was extremely powerful. Saint Venerable Red Lotus was not nearby. Qin had just discovered that the Divine Sun descendants were retreating at the fastest speed possible. Clearly, they were extremely afraid of the myriad realms' celestial mother's mysterious and bizarre soul power. Qingming was still tenaciously resisting the myriad realms' celestial mother. Even a bigwig like Saint Venerable Red Lotus had fled far away. As for Qingming, she had persisted until now. It was truly rare. It could be seen that Qingming's soul was extremely powerful. Qin did not have the confidence to defeat the myriad realms' celestial mother. From his point of view, the myriad realm celestial mother did not have a body. Her body was actually formed from her soul. The Divine Sun descendants had extremely powerful souls to begin with. To be able to use her soul to gather energy to form an extremely powerful body, it was enough to show how terrifying her mental power was. As the myriad world celestial mother was currently in her peak condition, Qin definitely could not take action now. Qingming's soul is very strong. The myriad world's celestial matriarch will definitely consume a lot of energy to devour her soul. Qin thought to himself. when she was drained by Xian Qingning, she went to devour Xian Qingning's soul. She must have been at her most relaxed state. Even if she maintained her vigilance, her mental power at that time should not have been enough to seriously injure me. Qinyan thought quickly and quickly came up with a plan. In the face of such a strong opponent with such a mystical and powerful soul, he could only resort to sneak attacks. It was also because he could conceal himself extremely well that he was confident that his sneak attack would succeed. One had to know that the myriad world's celestial mother had yet to discover his presence. Xian Qingning struggled bitterly, enduring the boundless terror as she stubbornly resisted the enemy's mental power that seeped in. The myriad world's celestial mother wanted to obtain Xian Qingning's complete memories, but she could not use a violent method. Therefore, the dermic formulation she was using was also very draining. She had to maintain her mental power at its strongest state and constantly force Xian Qingning to submit. As long as Xian Qingning was pressured to the point of collapse, her mental defenses would crumble. In order to escape the myriad world celestial mother's terror, she would have no choice but to compromise and completely entrust her soul to the myriad world's celestial mother. Qin Yun watched from the side and quickly saw the crux of the myriad world's celestial mother's dermic formulation. Xian Qingning's soul is truly powerful. Qin Yun was not worried that others would come over because the myriad world's celestial mother's powerful mental power had already enveloped the entire Fengyang city. He also discovered that the weaker people who were struck by the myriad world's celestial mother's strange mental power had their souls dissipated. Even some of the divine sun descendants had their souls affected to a certain extent. They were filled with boundless fear towards the myriad world's celestial mother. This would brand a deep mark of fear deep in their souls. Qin Yun finally understood why Saint Venerable Red Lotus was so afraid of the myriad world's celestial mother. He could tell that Saint Venerable Red Lotus had been used this move by the myriad world's celestial mother before. So powerful. If I were Xian Qingning, I'm afraid I wouldn't feel any better right now. Qin Yun had already informed Malheur that he wanted to borrow her mental power. Not only Malheur, Yang Yang, Ling Yuner, Zi Qingsheng, and Shui Tianzi would also release their mental power to Qin Yun. Xian Qingning was bound to the chair by an extremely powerful mental power. The white jade chair was specially made and could absorb mental power. When Xian Qingning sat on it, it was as if she was enveloped by the myriad world's celestial mother's mental power. Nine Heavens Goddess, submit. I am so powerful, yet you are willing to sacrifice your soul to me. You will coexist with me in this world. What kind of glory is this? The myriad world's celestial mother's voice suddenly resounded like a clap of thunder. Qin Yun was intimidated just now. Fortunately, he had been protecting himself all along, or he would have been exposed. Xian Qingning clenched her teeth tightly. Her beautiful face was already gradually contorting from the fear in her heart. Qin Yun was prepared to attack. However, Xian Qingning could still hold on. He wanted to wait for Xian Qingning's soul to float out. That would be the best time to attack. Half an hour had passed. Xian Qingning finally could not hold on any longer, and her soul floated out. However, Qin Yun branded the contract imprint in her soul. Oh, there's a contract imprint? The myriad world's celestial mother seemed somewhat surprised. Then she spent a lot of time and a large amount of mental power to slowly erase Qin Yun's contract imprint. Qin Yun is extremely shocked. His contract imprint was actually erased by someone else. Xian Qingning, accept me. The myriad world's celestial mother's forehead lit up and a white whirlpool, like hole, appeared on her head. Xian Qingning's white soul is slowly floating towards the top of the myriad world's celestial mother's head. She wants to enter that hole. Now, Qin Yun, who had been preparing for a long time, suddenly attacked. His mental crystal moon appeared in his palm. When the crystal moon appeared, a large amount of mental power condensed inside revolved and produced an extremely powerful devouring power. Xian Qingning's soul immediately flew over. Then, Qin Yun quickly stored Xian Qingning and the chair away. All of this happened very quickly. It was completed in half an instant. After Qin Yun was done, he decisively left. At the instant he dodged, the mental power transformed into terrifying lightning that bombarded the spot he was just at. The concealed Qin Yun was already far away from Fengyang City in a few blinks of an eye. However, he was still secretly afraid. If he'd been any slower, his soul would have been severely injured. Still considered successful. I hope Xian Qingning's mind did not suffer too much of a shock. Qin Yun sprinted the entire way. He needed to be far away from Fengyang City before he could feel at ease for the next step. Chapter 3420. 10,000 Worlds. Heavenly Mother was about to explode in anger. The entire Fengyang City instantly turned into a purgatory. Those who were unable to escape in time were instantly turned into ashes. Even Red Lotus Saint did not dare to approach Fengyang City at this moment. Otherwise, he might even suffer. What made 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother most angry was that she did not know who saved Xian Qingning. This was especially irritating to 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother. In the divine desolate land, there was such an outstanding person opposing her, humiliating her Heavenly Mother's prestige. However, she was unable to find this person to take revenge on. Qin Yun ran very quickly without a trace. All of his aura was concealed. Even though 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother's soul was very powerful, she was still unable to sense Qin Yun's soul fluctuations, so she was unable to track him. In order to not cause spatial fluctuations to be sensed, Qin Yun also did not travel through space. He did not fly high in the sky. He was running slowly on the ground very carefully. Furthermore, he did not leave any sound or trace. He was extremely cautious. Originally, he wanted to return to Great Divine Court Heavenly City quickly because he was worried that he would be besieged there. However, he did not expect that there would be a powerful Divine Sun descendant like 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother, causing him to be unable to return quickly. Qin Yun had already escaped from Fengyang City for 3 days, but he was still in the Nine Sun Sacred Land. In his opinion, only by leaving the Nine Sun Sacred Land could he be considered to have just escaped danger and be able to fly at high speed in the sky. He was worried that there would be more experts like 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother chasing after him. That was the most terrifying thing. After a short moment of anger, 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother immediately ordered a large number of Divine Sun descendants to search everywhere. Qin Yun's caution was right. Otherwise, he would really be found. A large number of Divine Sun descendants began to search the entire Nine Sun Sacred Land. They had a very special, fast communication network, and they completely obeyed 10,000 Worlds' Heavenly Mother's orders. At this moment, a large number of Divine Sun descendants from the 10,000 Worlds' Divine Suns had arrived at the Nine Sun Sacred Land and began to search for Qin Yun from all directions. There were many Divine Sun descendants. It was not a problem for them to search the entire Nine Sun Sacred Land. However, it was very difficult for them to search the entire Divine Desolate Land. The Divine Desolate Land was indeed too big, especially now that it was independent. It was expanding without any restrictions. This mystical land was growing bit by bit every day and never stopped. This was also the reason why Qin Yun only dared to fly after leaving the Nine Sun Holy Land. He was flying in the air at high speed, so there would be some fluctuations. If he was sensed by someone with strong mental strength, his whereabouts would be exposed. Not only were many of the Divine Sun Tribe's descendants searching, but many of the powers that were affiliated with the Divine Sun Tribe's descendants were also joining in the search. Everyone knew that Xian Qingning was very important. Now, Xian Qingning was saved by a mysterious person, and that person was so powerful. He really saved Xian Qingning right under the nose of the Heavenly Mother of Myriad Worlds. This was something that the Myriad Worlds' Heavenly Mother could not tolerate. This was like a slap to her face. In just a short 3 days, this news had spread throughout the entire divine wilderness. Everyone was extremely shocked. Among the descendants of the divine son, there is actually a transcendent existence like the myriad world's heavenly mother. Even Red Lotus Saint had caused them to feel fear. So how terrifying was the myriad world's heavenly mother that had caused Red Lotus Saint to feel fear? Of course, the mysterious expert who could defeat the myriad world's heavenly mother was equally shocking. The upper echelons of the Nine Yang Divine Palace all knew that Qin Yun had returned, so they could immediately guess that Qin Yun was on the move. In order to find the person who saved Xian Qingning, the descendants of the Divine Sun Heavenly Court did not have the time to suppress the great Divine Court's heavenly city. Qin Yun used 3 days to finally leave the Nine Sun Holy Land. Then he flew for 7 days and left the Nine Sun Holy Land. He arrived at a very desolate no-man's land in the Divine Wilderness. This no-man's land is filled with barren mountains. There are no treasure lands nearby. It is very lifeless. Qin Yun entered a large mountain and released Xian Qingning. Xian Qingning's expression is very haggard. She was originally in extreme fear, but after seeing Qin Yun, she felt a lot more at ease. "It has been hard on you," Qin Yun said. Xian Qingning shook her head and said, "I knew you would definitely come. What kind of inheritance memory did the people of Universe Outer Sky give you?" Qin Yun asked. Xian Qingning shook her head after hearing Qin Yun's question. Her expression changed back and forth. She wanted to say something, but stopped. Then she screamed miserably and sank into pain again. Qin Yun immediately released his mental power to comfort Xian Qingning's soul. Furthermore, he used a special soul refining technique to make Xian Qingning's soul enter a peaceful state of hibernation. Qin Yun is very shocked to see Xian Qingning's reaction. Her soul suffered a backlash just now. There is actually such a powerful contract imprint in Xian Qingning's soul. Even 10,000 worlds' heavenly mother could not erase it. If not for Qin Yun's timely rescue, Xian Qingning's soul would have been scattered. He immediately took out a communication tool with the Nine Sun Law Spirit and asked, "I saved Xian Qingning, but the situation is rather complicated." Qin Yun then told the Nine Sun Law Spirit about what just happened. After the Nine Sun Law Spirit heard this, he felt very puzzled. It shouldn't be. Logically speaking, she should be able to tell you. Then what should we do next? Qin Yun said, "All right, bring her to me. I will try and see if I can find her contract imprint." Nine Sun Law Spirit said, "Find you?" Qin Yun wanted to go to the Nine Sun Law Spirit before. However, the Nine Sun Law Spirit is very vigilant and doesn't want Qin Yun to find him. The memory inheritance that Xian Qingning obtained is very important to the Nine Sun Law Spirit, so he has no choice but to meet with Qin Yun. "It's quite simple to find me. You just need to drill into the ground. When you drill to a certain extent, I will contact you." The Nine Sun Law Spirit said, "Don't worry, it's very safe underground." Qin Yun immediately stored Xian Qingning in a storage divine artifact and began to drill down. He can easily drill through the ground using mysterious penetration divine ability, and it is also relatively fast. Even so, he still spent more than half a day before the Nine Sun Law Spirit began to guide him to a place. After an entire day, Qin Yun arrived at an underground palace under the guidance of the Nine Sun Law Spirit. This underground palace is very luxurious. It is made of a kind of golden crystal. Qin Yun doesn't know what kind of crystal it is, but he is certain that it came from the core of a powerful divine Sunday. Not long after, he was led to a large hall in the palace. He still did not see the Nine Sun Law Spirit. "Where are you?" Qin Yun asked. A chair suddenly appeared in the middle of the palace. "Put Xian Qingning on the chair." The Nine Sun Law Spirit said, "I won't show myself. I am still cultivating." "You even want to guard against me?" Qin Yun curled his lips and said, "Of course not." The Nine Sun Law Spirit chuckled and said, "I am really cultivating." Qin Yun carried Xian Qingning and placed her on the chair. Then he looked around to see where the Nine Sun Law Spirit is. Chapter 34:21. After Xian Qingming sat on the chair, she was quickly awakened by Nine Yang Lost Spirit. She woke up and looked at Qin Yun with a painful expression. It seems like she wants to say something to Qin Yun, but she can't because it will cause her soul to suffer backlash and die. This process is extremely painful, and the final outcome is her soul flying away and scattering. Qin Yun can naturally see it, but he has no other way. He can only see if Nine Yang Lost Spirit can erase the contract imprint in Xian Qingming's soul. Nine Yang Lost Spirit is currently trying. Xian Qingming is still suffering from backlash, but the pain is gradually decreasing. Qin Yun only looked at Xian Qingming with a resolute expression, hoping to encourage her to persevere. Did you discover anything? Qin Yun waited for a while and can't help but ask Nine Yang Lost Spirit. The Nine Yang Dharma Spirit did not reply. This spacious and splendid hall suddenly fell into a strange silence. Although Xian Qingming's face is filled with pain, she can't make a single sound. She is sitting on the chair, unable to move. It can be seen that she is currently in great pain. Gradually, Qin Yun sensed that something is wrong with the atmosphere. Nine Yang Lost Spirit is actually very quiet. Xian Qingming seems to have gradually calmed down. She is no longer in pain. She is sitting on the chair as if she is sleeping. However, her hands are tightly clenched into fists. Nine Yang Lost Spirit. Qin Yun took out the tool to contact Nine Yang Lost Spirit and called out, hoping to get a response. What the hell happened? Quickly answer me. Qin Yun continued to shout. He already sensed that something is wrong. At this time, Xian Qingming's body began twitching. It looks like she is possessed. Her eyes turned white. It is very strange and frightening. Xian Qingming, what's wrong? Qin Yun has no choice but to step forward. He placed his hands on Xian Qingming's shoulder and poured in his mental power to probe the situation of her soul. Just as he used his mental power to investigate, his consciousness felt as if it had fallen into an abyss. Although this process only lasted for half an hour, Qin Yun felt as if he had experienced many years. His consciousness was pulled into a very strange place. He never had this kind of feeling before. He is very sure that his current state is very dangerous. Because his consciousness was grabbed by some power, it means that his soul is also in extreme danger. It will fall into someone else's consciousness domain. Ha! Qin Yun, you also came. I didn't expect to catch a big fish like you. The voice that came out was actually the universe Dharma Spirit. That's right, it was the universe's lost spirit, not the universe beyond heaven. Qin Yun's consciousness was originally in darkness, but now he suddenly saw a few balls of light. It was 3 people. 2 of them were elders, the Nine Yang Lost Spirit and the universe Lost Spirit respectively. The other one was Xian Qingming. Xian Qingming's soul actually hid the soul of a universe spirit. Furthermore, it was so powerful. Nine Yang Dharma Spirit, do you think that you can fool me with a doppelganger? You're too naive. The universe's Dharma Spirit laughed and said, You didn't expect me to see through your trick, did you? Furthermore, I've set up a trap for you. This time, I've captured your true self. Nine Yang Lost Spirit's expression is somewhat unsightly, but he still laughed out loud and said, Universe Lost Spirit, it seems like we're all using avatars to fuse together. I really underestimated you. You're wrong. I did fuse with you with my original body. However, my soul technique is much more brilliant than yours. Before my original body's soul fused together, I already separated a portion of my formidable soul to continue his. The universe's Dharma Spirit said with smile, I am still the universe's Dharma Spirit, and the universe beyond heaven will evolve even more powerful in the ancient desolate. He will listen to my orders. You used your original body to trick me into giving you a formidable avatar. By fusing them together, you can indeed create a formidable body for you to use. This move is indeed very brilliant. Moreover, before you entered the ancient desolate, you used Xian Qingming to set up a trap and made me think that you left behind a very important inherited memory. Nine Yang Lost Spirit said with sneer, I was indeed careless. It's not that you were careless. Rather, you are too inexperienced. I am a universe's Dharma spirit. You are just a puny divine son Dharma spirit. How can you fight me? The universe's Dharma spirit's voice is filled with pride. Qin Yun finally understood why Xian Qingning wanted to tell Qin Yun, but could not. She was actually controlled by the universe's Dharma spirit. She herself was a trap. Xian Qingning does not have any inherited memory. She is completely a trap, specially used to capture the Nine Yang Law spirit. Nine Yang Law spirit previously thought that he could use an avatar to scheme against the universe's Dharma spirit. He did not expect that he would be tricked instead. These two Dharma spirits have been fighting for many years, and finally they fused together. He did not expect that there would be such a complicated scheme involved in this. In the current situation, we should cooperate with each other. Nine Yang Law spirit said. Qin Yun is unable to secretly communicate with the Nine Yang Law spirit. He wants to know whether or not the Nine Yang Law spirit has a backup plan. No, we don't need to cooperate. As long as I devour you, I will be the strongest. At that time, I will surely develop the myriad heavens divine desolate into the most powerful heaven and earth. The universe's Dharma spirit laughed proudly and said, Nine Yang Law spirit, isn't this your long-cherished wish? I will accomplish it for you. I want to personally witness it. Nine Yang Law spirit said again. His entire body is now releasing intense golden light. It is a very formidable mental power. This sudden appearance of mental power caused Qin Yun to be secretly alarmed. Because it is somewhat similar to the myriad realms heavenly mother he faced before, at least the aura is very similar. I will devour you. I will live for you. I will bear witness for you. Universe's Dharma spirit said. All right then. After Nine Yang Law spirit finished speaking, the golden light on his body gradually dimmed. He said again, but I have a condition. Let the two of them go. Nine Yang Law spirit looked at Qin Yun and Xian Qingning. Xian Qingning is useless. Letting her go is not a problem. But I can't let Qin Yun go. Universe's Dharma spirit said. Lord Universe Lord said that we can't let him live. Lord Universe Lord? Universe Lord? Qin Yun's heart trembled, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was not the case. When he came, the Universe Lord was indeed very concerned about him. He could feel the Universe Lord's sincerity. Could it be that this Lord, Universe Lord, is someone else? He is just an insignificant life form. Isn't Lord Universe Lord thinking too highly of him? Killing him in the myriad heavens divine desolate is too easy. Nine Yang Law spirit said. When Qin Yun heard this, he felt somewhat displeased. Was he that weak in the myriad heavens divine desolate? Now, he only wants to know what kind of existence this Lord Universe Lord is. Nine Yang Law spirit, this guy Qin Yun hid some things from you. Did he tell you how he ran back? Universe's Dharma spirit chuckled and said, this guy was supposed to inherit my position and become the ancestral universe's Dharma spirit, but he didn't. Instead, he ran back. Qin Yun indeed did not tell Nine Yang Law spirit about his contact with the Universe Lord. Chapter 34:22. From the Universe Law Spirit's words, Qin Yun learned that the universe he was in before was actually the ancestral universe, and that Universe Lord. Qin Yun, how did you come back? Nine Yang Law Spirit asked. Of course I ran back. Qin Yun decided to continue hiding the matter of the Universe Lord. The reason why the Universe Law Spirit wants to kill him is most likely because he had a deep contact with the Universe Lord. Do you think we are fools? Universe Law Spirit sneered. Qin Yun, with your strength, it is impossible for you to come here from the ancestral universe core space. Believe it or not. Qin Yun snorted. Also, my life and death is not up to you to decide. Nine Yang Law Spirit hid many things. Qin Yun already guessed it, but he did not expect it to be so important. Of course, he does not blame Nine Yang Law Spirit, because some things cannot be said. Qin Yun, if you want to live, you must be honest with us. Nine Yang Law Spirit said. If it was really the Universe Lord who sent you here, it will be very troublesome. I indeed came in contact with the Universe Lord. He wanted to forcefully keep me in that damn place as some lost spirit. But I can't let go of too many things, so I must return to divine desolate. On this point, the Nine-Yang Dharma spirit was clearer than anyone else. He understood Qin Yun quite well. The divine desolate was indeed something that Qin Yun could not give up. To Qin Yun, even if he died, he would die in the divine desolate. Qin Yun, then let me ask you, how did you return to divine desolate? Not to mention you, even if I join hands with Nine-Yang Law Spirit, we would not be able to leave the ancestral universe. Only with the Universe Lord's permission can we leave. Universe Law Spirit does not believe Qin Yun. I used my formidable power to open a powerful spatial passage in the dark space. This is mainly because of the divine King Heavenly Seal. You should not know how powerful my divine King Heavenly Seal is, right? Qin Yun said with smile, I've already fused with the divine King Heavenly Seal. I have fused with all the bloodline heavenly pattern boxes in my possession. Nine-Yang Law Spirit and Universe Law Spirit know very well what the bloodline heavenly pattern boxes are. Many years ago, they had tried to fuse the boxes together, but in the end they failed. This was especially true for the universe's Law Spirit. He had once asked the Universe Lord if he could fuse these bloodline heavenly pattern boxes, but even the Universe Lord couldn't do it. The fact that Qin Yun could do it meant that he had grasped the supreme bloodline heavenly pattern law. In other words, he had created the bloodline heavenly pattern law. After grasping the law, he could fuse with the bloodline heavenly pattern box. This meant that the power of his inscriptions would transcend the laws of inscriptions in any universe. This process was very mysterious and bizarre. The Nine-Yang Law Spirit and the Universe Law Spirit only knew the general direction, but he could not comprehend this level. They also understood Qin Yun's level of inscription very well. They knew that Qin Yun's inscription technique was extremely brilliant, and his perception in this aspect was extremely high. However, they never thought that he would actually reach such a realm. This means that in the future, Qin Yun will be able to create runes that no other universe has ever seen before. Moreover, they will be very powerful, and only he can use them. Moreover, he can fuse them with the laws of many universes and ignore the power of laws of all universes. What? You don't believe me? Qin Yun smiled confidently. Then why don't you try and kill me? Although Qin Yun's consciousness has been dragged into this place, his body has gradually regained its senses. Now his consciousness is no longer imprisoned in this consciousness domain by the Universe Law Spirit. Qin Yun's soul is also very powerful. This point is beyond the expectation of the Universe Law Spirit and the Nine-Yang Law Spirit. Naturally, they still don't know. The main thing is that Qin Yun's mental nether moon has evolved into mental crystal moon. His mental core is a very large divine sun blood seed crystal, and it has also transformed into a small moon. Even an old monster like Myriad World's Heavenly Mother, who can erupt with super strong mental power, is unable to cultivate her mental core into a pure divine sun blood seed crystal. Her mental crystal moon is very small. It looks like an irregular small stone. For someone like Qin Yun, who cultivated his mental core into a crystal moon, it was very frightening. The main reason is because he cultivated in the universe core space for several hundred years. If Qin Yun is reluctant to part with the ancestral universe core space, it is because he wants to cultivate in that place. Qin Yun, you are courting death. Fine, I will take care of you and Xian Qingning together. Haha, your soul will fly and scatter. The Universe Law Spirit laughed loudly and said. Just as he finished speaking, Qin Yun and Xian Qingning disappeared from the Universe Law Spirit's consciousness domain. Originally, Qin Yun already used the Divine King Heavenly Seal to seal Xian Qingning's head. Just like that, he can save her consciousness and completely break away from the Universe Law Spirit. The Universe Law Spirit's consciousness is now fighting with the Nine-Yang Law Spirit. As for the result, Qin Yun doesn't want to know. He stored Xian Qingming in his storage divine tool and immediately left the 9 Yang lost spirits' underground palace. After Qin Yun left, there are only the 9 Yang lost spirit and the universe lost spirit left in the consciousness domain. We all underestimated Qin Yun. The 9 Yang lost spirit laughed and said, "Whether you admit it or not, Qin Yun was created by me. No, I created him." The universe lost spirit said with sneer, "I contributed the most to him growing to this stage. I won't deny that you contributed, but you can't compare to me. He is clearly so outstanding. Why did you destroy him?" The 9 Yang lost spirit said with sneer, "Because he is too outstanding. He makes me feel fear. I don't like this kind of uncontrollable guy." The universe lost spirit said, "If he obediently took over my position and became the new universe lost spirit in the ancestral universe, I would have treated him as my beloved child. Like a beloved child. His mistake was that he shouldn't have come here. It seems like Universe Lord is afraid of him." The 9 Yang lost spirit sighed and said, "It seems like the great battle between us and Qin Yun is unavoidable. It's all your fault. If you left Qin Yun's worries in the universe core space, he wouldn't have thought of coming back. It's all your fault. You gave Qin Yun so many unnecessary emotions, making him unable to let go of divine desolate." The universe lost spirit said in anger, "If Qin Yun didn't have those emotions, he wouldn't have grown to this stage. If he wasn't outstanding enough, Universe Lord wouldn't have approved of him. Then you and I wouldn't have reached this stage. Divine Desolate wouldn't have been able to transcend the ancestral universe." The 9 Yang lost spirit said with faint smile. The universe lost spirit didn't refute because he also admitted that Qin Yun is very important. Does Universe Lord know that Qin Yun is in Divine Desolate? The 9 Yang lost spirit asked. "I don't know for now, but I will tell him." The universe lost spirit said, "Don't stop me. Don't worry. I will personally tell Universe Lord about this," the 9 Yang lost spirit said with mischievous laugh. "Next, Divine Desolate will become more and more interesting." "Interesting? You tricked my true body before? I still haven't settled the score with you." The universe lost spirit furiously shouted, "Don't think that just because you are hiding underground, I won't be able to catch you. Just you wait. I will immediately find your true body and ruthlessly trample on you." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.